Hello, hello. Hey, Cheekbones. How are you today?
I'm fine, Miss Ray. How you doing?
I'm good. I hear a little bit of an echo in the background. Are we playing somewhere else?
No, there's something going on with my audio. I'm hoping to. Is that better?
Yes, that's much better. That's much better.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. Hopefully my audio sounds good. Yeah. I don't know. I'm trying my new I am trying my new Wi-Fi today. So I've changed
Woo!
internet providers. Well, fingers crossed. It's supposed to be a 5G network. So I thought what we could do is take a really quick look at this Davita video, just to kind of, and then obviously have everybody, hey, welcome everybody in the chat. I keep coming in and out of I'm sitting right in front of the router, and my bars are not showing great. I had full bars a second ago, so I don't know if it's just because I have so much. They keep telling me to connect it directly into the computer to get better service, but of course I have to go buy something else to connect to my computer. So what I'll do is I'll just make me into an avatar and try to take some of this down. So I'm going to become an avatar, and see if that helps it out. I'm supposed to become an avatar. What happened? All right, there's my avatar. All right, let me take my camera off real quick. Hold on. There we go. All right. Hopefully, there we go. I was trying to. That's okay. I don't look great tonight anyway. How are you doing, Cheekbones, by the way?
I am doing great. People are saying they're hearing feedback or an echo. Is it any better? My study is very small, and I'm wondering if it's not echoing in this room. I've tried to turn my volume down, so I thought that might be. Is it Kelly? Is it an echo on my end?
I think it's on your end because I wasn't hearing it on mine. Yeah, I don't think it was on my end. There we go. I'm trying to get.
Other than blowing my walls out. Oh, Pat says it's fine.
Hey,
okay.
You know what? What would be a live stream? Oh, it's on my end. I don't. We try to turn my volume down. Let me try to.
I hear you fine.
Are we sounding? I got my volume down. Cheekbones are great. It was me? Oh, geez. Okay. All right. Is that sounding better? Now yours is gone, right? Okay. Like I said, I've been fighting the world of technology today because I decided to change all my services over. And even though I'm sitting directly in front of this router, it's coming with like off and on service. So I'm hoping I can stay connected because this is not the experience. They said it was a faster service, but that doesn't mean I have as many megabytes. I have switched everything off that has any type of internet connected to it in order just to be on this one. But it could be that all my neighbors have just signed up to 5G as well. So I'm hoping that I can get an Ethernet connection. And actually, because StreamYard does recommend not to be on Wi-Fi and to use an Ethernet connection. I'm like, I have a laptop. It's just like, I haven't had a standing PC or Mac in quite some time. So anyway, let's not talk about that. Let's get over to this Davita, as you may or may not know, for those of technology is very fun, Rosebud. I'm almost scared to actually stick on anything in the chat. So it was Ray before the avatar. Okay, well, that's good to know. Maybe it's like I said, I might have to decide on getting anyway. Stop talking about the technological fun I'm having, obviously, with this new internet service sitting right in front of the router. I thought it was going to improve my StreamYard experience, and obviously it's making it much worse. So there we go. Anyway, so let's start. This is a really quick video, less than 2 minutes. Now, do you want to let people know what your background before we get into this? What your background is as far as dialysis, and then we're going to actually go over and take a look at Chantel's jumbo grilled shrimp dinner. Then we'll kind of go back and, as she goes along, then I'll have you talk a little bit more about dialysis. How's that sound?
Sounds great.
And I can keep an eye on the chat and see what questions are coming up.
Good deal.
Okay, good. All right. So, okay. So what do you want to let the audience know about your dialysis experience?
Well, as a dietitian, in our internship, we have to work in all aspects of any type of nutrition. But I did specifically and solely work for a dialysis unit. So, that was my only job. In a hospital, you might have short-term dialysis. I've done a lot of renal diet education pre-dialysis to try to keep them off dialysis. But I have a lot of experience with working in a dialysis unit. Okay. As a dietitian.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. So what was the main takeaways for the diet prior to the patient starting dialysis? What sort of diet should they? Because it is very different diets for people with kidney disease comparatively to other types of disease processes.
A lot of it depends on what stage of kidney disease that they're in. But the main thing they can do is the reduced protein. They need a lower protein diet. And it's, because then when you get on dialysis, it's totally flipped.
Right. It's like they're supposed to eat more protein once they're on the diet. And it's certain types of meats that they're not, I understand, allowed to have. So prior to, say, Chantel is not yet there that we are aware of, what would be kind of recommended as far as her protein intake at this time? Well, because she keeps saying she's getting kidney infections.
Yeah. Usually, now this is nothing to do with her weight loss or anything, just protein would usually be, I would say, 0.5 to 0.6 grams per kilogram of body weight is how I would assess her. Now that's, not looking at the big picture, just kind of off the top, where when you get into, the dialysis, it's far more than that.
Right. And isn't there certain types of like meats that are, I understand, are to be avoided when you actually get onto dialysis?
It's not so much the meat, it's certain proteins like peanut butter, nuts, seeds, lentils. Those are the type of proteins you need to avoid when you're doing hemodialysis.
And we know Chantel loves a lentil soup.
Yeah, and also dairy foods. Let me throw that in there.
Well, we know she also enjoys cheese.
Yes. And it's, because when you get into dialysis, you have to, every month they draw blood and run labs. And I get those lab reports. And it's, calcium, phosphorus, potassium, sodium, albumin, all these things. And I have to sit down with each patient if they're high or low and, do a diet review. What have you been eating? Are you taking your binders? All this, trying to get to the root to either boost it or, lower it. Right. But the dairy foods and your, peanut butter, lentils, they're high in potassium and phosphorus. And that's why we do not, when you're on dialysis, want you to eat those.
Interesting. It's interesting. And one of the things that I used to see too, with patients who were on active dialysis at the hospital is that their blood pressures can get extremely high.
Absolutely. And it's, and I'm sure we'll get into it later, but it's not like you just go sit in a machine and they plug you up and then, 4 hours later you get off. I mean, they have to give some medications
right
to you when you're in the chair getting the dialysis. So it's a lot of components and I guess for like everything, we just kind of have to stay, we can't get into the guts of it. I just hope this terrifies people. That's what I want it to do because it should be terrifying, Chantal, but it's not. So
she's absolutely thinks she's invincible to anything. And I I think it's because she avoids healthcare on the whole until she's really having a crash and burn, that she doesn't really take in the full picture of the consequences of some of her lifestyle choices towards her health. Some of you might have seen, I don't know if you saw, I did that very sad reaction yesterday, or commentary around the young lady who died of during the mukbang while on the live stream. Did you see that? Like,
Sure did.
it's pretty horrific. A lot of people thought it was her, she'd had a heart attack, because obviously the amount of blood that would take to digest the food, and obviously the heart would be diverting its blood flow primarily to the gastric system in order to process that food, could have led to some type of cardiac event. And even though that is true, that when you're digesting the blood, you know, your heart might start to send more food to your gastric region in order to complete, you know, the digestive process. For the main part, if there was any type of heart failure or anything going on, the the heart would be slowing down its blood flow to the gastric system, which is why people with heart failure often have nausea.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, and I don't know how much, Chantal, you know, how common is dialysis along with diabetes is a question that we're getting.
Um, the patients that I had in my clinic, I would say a minimum, probably 80 to 85% of them were diabetic.
Mm.
And probably the same amount also had high blood pressure.
Oh,
The
absolutely.
the random ones that were on dialysis, it was either a birth defect, like kidneys not formed, you know, at birth, or something to that effect. But most of them are in the chair because of uncontrolled diabetes and high blood pressure.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think that's one of the things that people aren't aware when they understand that people go on to dialysis, that most of it is lifestyle choices and from not, you know, blood pressure monitoring. People, I think, do believe that you don't need to check your blood pressure. You get that checked when you turn 60 something, and that's when you start to worry about it. Whereas I have found that actually a lot of people, especially people who have very stressful lives, who aren't getting enough exercise, who aren't really monitoring their diets, really start to get on blood pressure medications in their early 40s.
And you know, it was really strange, because as a dietitian, when I would get these labs back, and with the diabetics, we would run the A1Cs and stuff. And I had one patient, his A1C, I believe, was 17.
Oh
He
my
had
goodness.
already had a below the knee amputation.
Mm.
And so I go to talk to him. I was like, you know, what are you doing with your diabetic diet? And he said, well, you know, I said, well, what's your endocrinologist saying? And he had never been to an endocrinologist. I couldn't believe he had made it that far and nobody had ever sent him to an endocrinologist. So, you know, I set him up an appointment and got him over there, and, you know, went the diet with him and stuff. And but it's kind of, you know, I think some of their comorbidities get forgotten, or, you know, not looked at, or like you and I always say, be your own advocate. You know, get your copy of your labs and look at them.
Right.
You know, it's easy. You know, it's a Google search. If something's not right or abnormal, limit on your lab report, look into it.
Well, often now, a lot of healthcare systems, at least here in the United States, I don't know for other parts of the world, have the app like My Chart that you can go into and actually see your lab results often before the doctor's even spoken to you about the lab results. So it's much easier for patients to access this information, especially since there were changes in the law brought about by the Affordable Care Act that had it so patients can access their information easily. Whereas
Yeah.
before, today. I'm gonna have to get the Ethernet thing. I'm learning this. This is a learning experience. I thought it'd be better. I was complaining the other day about how bad my other service was. And this is supposed to be Verizon 5G, people. It's because I'm on wireless, and StreamYard doesn't like it really wireless. It wants you connected to the Ethernet. I'm like, I'm on a laptop. What do you expect? So anyway, so hopefully we'll be able to play this video. Maybe I take myself off and just let you make comments about it while I stop the video. But I was, always wanting to let people know that you can access that information. That's part of the Affordable Care Act, sort of giving people an opportunity to do that. All right. So before we get into this wonderful video from Davita, would you want people else about dialysis? I mean, it's obviously we talk a lot about lifestyle choices with it.
And Liz has asked about, we're going to go over the different types of dialysis. But, we've talked about before, because these conditions, diabetes, high blood pressure, it's not like it's something that manifests so much on the outside. So you let it slide or let it go, but you don't need to do that. Or the doctor just keeps increasing your medication and you're not doing the diet changes.
Right.
I'm just telling you, I think everybody should have to go to a dialysis unit, and you would change your ways quite quickly.
If they could see the horrors that I saw working in hospice, having to be the RN for end-stage renal disease patients, that would probably, there's a couple of different units I think that could make patients or people be a lot more aware, because I've seen some very young people on dialysis, very young. And a lot of times it is due to the uncontrolled blood pressure, which is why I always say that you shouldn't wait, until you've had some type of cardiac event. You can always get yourself a blood pressure machine at home so you can monitor, because a lot of people, I think, like to use the idea of white coat syndrome, so that they would say, oh, my blood pressure is so high because I'm, seeing the doctor, and I don't like to see the doctor, and that's why my blood pressure is so high. And obviously there is such a thing as white coat syndrome. But for the most part, the difficulties can, be really because you really are experiencing high blood pressure. And that can be because your diet is too heavy in salt, that you are stressed, you're not getting proper sleep, you don't exercise. So many of these factors are lifestyle choices. But the idea is not trying to make being healthy something that's a penalty. I think that we need to try to, educate around it just being part of a lifestyle, not that, oh, there's these folks over here and they're really boring because they like to exercise and eat healthily, and we're the fun group over here because we don't care.
Exactly.
And I think I spoke about this the other day when we did our members only live, about that idea of, exercise and healthiness and all of these things are very unappealing to people on the most part. Just like I am unappealed with this Verizon 5G at the moment. I also have a lot of neighbors who started on the service, so who knows? Who knows? Anyway, stop complaining, Ray. Sound like a grandpa today. All right. So my thing is, when I actually worked with, unfortunately, end-stage renal disease patients, it is just awful. It is awful because they obviously discontinue dialysis. And so you can have patients that, because one of the things I think that people don't realize that could come along with dialysis, and we'll just touch on this real quick. What about the peeing problems? Because they don't pee normally, from what I find. Sometimes they can go anuric towards the end of life.
In my clinic, I only had one patient that chose to stop dialysis, and was the sweetest man, and tore me up. But he had lost his wife, and he just was tired of it. I mean, and he was older, but he was just tired of having to do that all the time. Had a very supportive family, and it tore them up. But yeah,
Right.
he just chose to stop and pass away at home with the hospice. Yeah.
Right. Lori wants to know, it won't go from normal to hypertensive just because you're afraid of doctors, will it? There is a white coat syndrome, Lori. So there are people that might be slightly elevated when they go to see the doctor, but it shouldn't be at the levels where these patients are persistently having high blood pressure that it puts so much work onto the cardiac muscle that the kidneys are one of the first, followed by I think I want to say the kidneys are one of the first organs that the heart starts to shut down when the blood pressure's
Yeah.
getting too high.
Yeah. I just
Am I
want
correct
to.
with that?
Yes, you are. Powerful Quill. They were asking about using the pink Himalayan salt. I just wanted to address that. Absolutely not. I don't care if Jesus himself came down and touched the salt. You stay away from sodium. Your
Right.
electrolytes are not a worry on hemodialysis. It's the amount of fluid you take in, and you need to eat a low sodium diet.
Right.
So,
Right.
no, do not do that, please.
Right, because salt is salt. It doesn't matter if it came from the Himalayas or if it came from your table salt. The body recognizes salt as just being salt. And
Yes.
obviously, if you're taking in any salt and you're already on dialysis, that, and your heart is already having a poor function, that it's going to have a harder time getting a balance of salt to fluid. So it's just going to keep holding fluid
Yeah.
in order to balance out that salt. And that's why often dialysis patients can have extremely high blood pressure. I mean, I'm talking, 210 over 106, blood
Oh, yeah.
pressure, very high.
And I had one patient, I'm not kidding. I'm trying to remember. It was, I want to say it was either 30 or 50 liters of fluid they would pull off of him. He was a very large man, totally non-compliant with everything, sweet as he could be. But they would have to keep him on the machine like an extra hour to get all the fluid off of him. And he was coming in 3 times a week. This was every time. Yeah.
Right. And I want to say that something I think that people have talked about. Oh, well, Chantel would have to be in the dialysis chair for quite a long time. But I do, but that's 3 times a week. And you don't get to take off just because you're going on vacation. They literally, if you're going out of town, you better have a dialysis center ready to take you in. You don't get a day off from dialysis. It's every other day.
Companies like DaVita and Fresenius, which are the 2 largest, I think, in the U.S. that I know of,
Right.
they have social workers, and if you're going on vacation, they will set you up with that clinic, or close to where you're vacationing, to set you up for treatment. So they take very good care of their patients.
Yes, we have a lot of the DaVita clinics are always reaching out to me for jobs to work. But it's very difficult being a dialysis nurse. It's not, because it's not, the patients aren't ever going to get cured from kidney disease by being on dialysis. We do need to let people know that, correct? It's not going to reverse the kidney disease.
There are some, I've had a couple of patients that were on dialysis short term and recovered enough kidney function, but they weren't diabetic high blood pressure. It was something else that had happened, and they went into renal failure, but they were able to get off of they didn't have the fistula placement. They just had the catheter.
Okay, so these would be somebody with like an acute kidney injury suddenly?
Yes, correct.
And that's often coming from a cardiac reason.
Yes, usually.
Yeah. I don't think that people understand how linked the organs are, it's when you see Chantel eating all this crazy amounts of food that you kind of, and sodium and stuff, and and a lot of people talk about pardon me, the fact that she talks a lot about her other organs, her kidneys having infections or so forth, her diabetes, but she mentions very little about her heart.
Yeah.
And
And
sorry.
well, she's been saying, oh, my blood pressure's fine. And we've talked about this. It was last year. She was placed on medication for high blood pressure. So, because she was having those migraines. So they put her on blood pressure medication. It may be controlled with the blood pressure medication, but we all know she is non-compliant with the medication. So I doubt she's taking it like she's supposed to.
Right. And so just Cody, and we're sorry to hear this, says, my mom is in stage kidney disease. She has been type 2 diabetic for a long time and takes metformin. She swears up and down it caused her kidney disease. She is on kidney donor list. Has there been anything? And is dialysis at home every night? My goodness, just Cody. I'm sorry for that, for your mum.
Metformin is hard on your kidneys.
Yes, it is.
So I'm not saying that that's what, caused the kidney disease, being type 2 diabetic. I don't know enough, Cody, about, your mom, but, what she was doing, diagnosed, was she compliant with her, that kind of thing. But yes, metformin, diuretics are hard on your kidneys.
Oh, yeah, because they're trying to excrete the blood glucose or the fluid per diuretics. And obviously the kidney is the organ that has to do that work. So the goal is obviously for people not to have to go on these medications. I've had type 2 diabetics mention to me when they've started to get pre-diabetic. And I've encouraged, better habits of exercise and eating. And a patient will say, well, isn't there just a pill for that?
Mm-hmm.
And, it's just as much as the pill has a benefit to help people, these pills also have side effects. And the side effects can either be beneficial to the patient, as Eloise would probably let you know, or they can be really damaging to the body as well.
Yep. Well, when you get to her stage, she's taking medications, and I think she's taking that, is it the Farxiga? I think she's taking that for her kidneys. I don't think it's specifically for her diabetes. I think it's for her kidneys. But, she has to take this medication for diabetes, which is hard on her kidneys.
Correct.
And then that
as well as the insulin Lantus is hard on the kidneys. I understand. Exactly. You have to have regular kidney monitoring because it's so hard on the kidneys.
And like the Zocor, she already has that fatty liver. She needs to be having hepatic panels every 6 months to monitor that, or that's what I would suggest or recommend. So she got a bad liver, so she's taking the Zocor and the Farxiga, which bad, and the Lantus is bad. It's like, you get into that, where it's robbing Peter to pay Paul.
Right. So Lori would like to know, do relatives not offer to donate a kidney, or is it just because they're not compatible? Well, unfortunately, with kidney transplants, they actually have to pass first a cardiac, just to be getting the transplant itself. They have to have a cardiac clearance. So I don't, it might be better sometimes with younger patients, but and there's an age cutoff too for kidney transplant. I understand, like 60 years old here in the US.
I was trying to, I did have a patient whose daughter was going to donate a kidney. He was in his 70s, and he was kind of like wanting the kidney, and the social worker was, she had small children, and, her husband was in the military, and it's kind of like, what is the life expectancy? You're going to take one of your daughter's kidneys, and what if something happens to her and she had, but The whole process of kidney transplant, they're very, very strict.
Yes.
When you get on that list. I had a patient, young man. It was a birth defect. Wasn't anything he did. He was in his mid-20s, had a baby, and he smoked marijuana. And the social worker and I would go to him and say, look, you're young. You could get on this list and get in quick and get a kidney if you'll just quit smoking. Go smoke up after you get your kidney. Just stop now and get your kidney. And he said no, he'd rather smoke dope. So, I couldn't understand that, but to each their own. That's what you want to do. But being a 25-year-old having dialysis, I would pass the Dutchie till I got my kidney, and then I'd rock on. But yeah, they check for all that kind of stuff. They're really strict about, you have to have everything in order, your health, before they'll give you that kidney.
Right. And so, hey, Claudia says, hey, everyone, I guess she takes a lot of ibuprofen. Oh, dear. And other painkillers. That's really bad for the kidneys and liver, too. Well,
Absolutely.
they have to be metabolized. What's your thoughts on that?
That is the ibuprofen, Aleve, all that. Yes, absolutely. It is bad on your kidneys and your liver, too. But yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. If you're taking, and I don't know how much she takes, but I've known people that eat those things like Tic Tacs. I don't take
and
them.
That's so bad for potential gastric bleeds.
Yes.
They really do can ulcerate a gastric system more than anything. Like cardiac patients, we do not like patients with any known heart conditions to take ibuprofen. That's a big no-no. Tylenol to the amount allowed on the packet. That's why they say, in certain types of Tylenol, acetaminophen is, preferred for cardiac pain relief. And these analgesics can work very well. But the NSAIDs often, especially ibuprofen, is one that we definitely, it's very good for the anti-inflammatory properties, but it's not so good when it comes to causing gastric bleeds.
Yeah.
All right. So let's get in here. And Cody, I understand. I'm so sorry for your mom. How was her liver with her liver? How harmful are edibles? Oh my goodness, powerful Quill. Problem with edibles is you don't know exactly how much is going into it. And the problem with marijuana products too is that obviously one, it can cause cognitive function decline. It can also lead to a variety of cardiac conditions, including it can actually lower the blood pressure. It can lead to tachycardias, bradycardias. There's a lot more side effects than people that want to, and we have very little chance to research it since it's a Schedule I federally controlled drug. And but it does cause all types of neurological difficulties, especially if people start smoking it young. It can trigger certain psychiatric disorders like schizophrenia. It's just it comes with more warnings than I think people realize.
Well, I think with Chantal, because I'm trying to off the top of my head, I think the last time that I think she just moved into the villa when she had the liver stuff going on, and I think it was twice the normal size. And we've talked about it here before. I've seen people, they go enlarged liver, cirrhosis, liver cancer. And it's not like it's a 25-year process. It can go pretty quick. With her compromised liver, anything like that, I would be harmful. How much, I don't know. But you're talking about an organ that's struggling, and which she's not doing now, I understand, in Kuwait, but it's definitely not helping her.
Right. So we don't treat or diagnose anybody here, but May would like to know, have we speculated where she could be with, say, chronic kidney disease? Because she, at the moment, if she had a cardiac event, say, for example, a heart attack, that could lead to an acute kidney injury. And they often do, because blood flow is stopping, and obviously your kidneys are going to get affected by that. But I don't know if we know what stage she would be in at this time, correct? Or do you have any speculation on that?
Well, I've screamed from the mountaintop that I suspected that when we started doing these streams that she was minimum stage 3. I think she's rocking into stage 4.
Wow.
But you have the GRF, your
Right.
glomerular filtration rate test, which is a blood test. And then you have the albumin creatinine ratio test, which is a urine test. And they take those two tests and then they determine what stage of kidney disease you're in. I do not remember seeing a GFR on anything that she has shown. She has talked about the protein in her urine, but I don't remember seeing any, because that's something I look at for the A1C, GFR kind of thing. I don't remember it. I might be wrong, but I suspect if she's rocking out of 3 into 4. That's my personal opinion, just from her comorbidities and her diet and, just not finding,
there's an increased risk for something happening. One of the things we learn is that the more ER visits somebody has in a given year, the more likelihood of an event happening.
Yeah. And the heart attacks are far more prevalent for people on dialysis. It's it's just really scary.
Yes, and I don't even want to get into so do you want to quickly just go over the stages of kidney disease off the top of your head, and then we'll take a look at this dialysis process video?
Sure. It's 5 stages, and the stage you're in is all dependent on those 2 labs, the GFR and the ACR combined, and there's a number, and that's how you're staged. But with kidney disease, you can be stage 1, stage 2, even into stage 3, and have no symptoms, and that's terrifying. That's why get your kidneys checked. Stage 4 is like the really severe. Stage 5 is the kidney failure. When you're getting on to the end of stage 4, that's when they're going to look at fistula placement for the dialysis. Yeah. Because it's a 2 to 3 month healing process for that fistula. And it may not take. You might have to have it done again.
Oh yeah, I've seen that. And it also means that you become very difficult to give any blood because you've got to preserve the limb that has the fistula. Kidney doctors get very upset. Your nephrologists get very upset when you have to use any of their veins in their arms.
Absolutely. That fistula placement is a whole nother ball game. I mean, it's it's terrible. I worked in Mississippi in a dialysis. That's where I worked in dialysis, was in Mississippi. And the leading surgeon that did those fistulas was in Mississippi, but down in the Delta, which was 3.5 hours away. So, and you're talking about most of the people there were in, their low socioeconomic, areas of their life. You have to schedule trying to get a ride down there. I mean, they didn't have cars. They lived in houses with holes in their floors. I mean, it's really, really, really sad. And it was a process. So they would have to try to find somebody, public transport, to get them down there. But it's 3.5, but that was the guy you wanted to do it. But it's just scary, terrifying.
Yeah, we don't think Chantel believes that she'll end up on anything, Michelle. Yeah, and Pat Ray says you'd be surprised, even as a 110-pound female, CPR was not a problem for me on a morbid obese. Well, you got to crack those ribs no matter what, girl. You know how it is. That's what we always say when we give CPR. If you don't hear that sternum crack, you're not getting to the heart muscle. So we literally have to break your bones to really give effective CPR. And if that's what you have to do, that's what you have to do.
Yeah.
And the older you get, the more, somewhat, easier it is actually to break those bones and get down into that heart muscle. But you're going to go for it. You're going to have to. So It's not fun. It's not fun. All right, let's take a quick look at this little Davita video about the process of dialysis. And then we'll let you give your thoughts about this. And then we'll pop over and take a look at Chantel's grilled shrimp mumbo jumbo mukbang. I don't think she's released anything new, except a very boring live stream from today that I got exhausted even listening after 10 minutes. All right, let's hope this works on my computer. Take it away, Davita.
Dialysis is a very good modality to keep people alive for a very long time with their kidney failure. Dialysis requires a number of interventions and some lifestyle changes, but with the right support, you can do very well. Dialysis, when done with blood access or hemodialysis, requires the placement of a device or shunt to allow us access to a patient's blood. There are basically three types. One is a catheter, which is nothing more than a tube. The second type of access is a vascular graft or AV graft. That is nothing more than a...
Let me add myself back on. Sorry about that. I definitely going to have to get that Ethernet connection to improve this for the audience. So my apologies today. Technology is fun. So more commonly, I mean, I've seen obviously the ones where they have the catheters up at the top. Now, is that more for like an acute kidney injury? Because you could not be having that long term, I think, comparatively to a fistula.
Yeah, that's for short term access. And there's most of them, probably 99% of what I dealt with was the actual AV fistula. They do have a synthetic bridge graft that they can do, but none of my patients had that.
Right. And there is a difference between peritoneal and hemodialysis. Do you want to just touch on that real quick?
The two different types, is that what you said?
Yes.
Yes, there's the hemodialysis, and you can do hemodialysis at home. I haven't heard of anybody ever doing it in my practice because there's a lot of issues with that at home. Now there's peritoneal dialysis where they put a catheter in through the peritoneum, they pump you full of fluid, it sets, it drains. A lot of people opt to do that at home. And some of them have it run at night.
Right.
It keeps you out of the dialysis unit, sitting in a chair. It's not as good as hemodialysis. And usually within some years, you'll end up having to do hemodialysis.
Oh, yeah.
But Tammy loves to travel. I would suggest everybody, usually anytime if you get your annual wellness visit, or women, if you're, getting your annual pap smear, whatever, just ask them to run a CMP, and that's a comprehensive panel, and it will have your GFR on there and your creatinine and your bun and all that, and it'll show you if it's high or low. If you have high blood pressure, I mean, me personally, I'd for sure be getting that tested like every 6 months minimum. But usually your little I was gonna call them a zippy mark for health, med serves, they're very cheap. Those CMPs are not expensive.
Correct. You can, at least in here in the United States, you can order for lab testing and purchase it online and take it up to LabCorp and get your own labs run if you want. Sometimes they could be even less expensive than insurance prices.
Yes. I was trying to think, it seems like it's like $17 or $25, maybe not even that much, because it's such a common kind of thing. But yeah. Hey, Team Psych Ward. I didn't see you. Hey, girl.
Yeah. So you can have your BMP, which is a basic metabolic panel, or your CMP, which is your comprehensive metabolic panel. A lot of times, I believe that the most commonly run is the BMP, because they're just kind of looking at your basic, potassium, sodium, just kind of giving a quick check. But I know as far as the hospital is concerned, the CMP is usually what we're getting, because we're having to look at more numbers. And if you are on medications such as Chantel is taking Lantus insulin, then you're definitely going to want to make sure that that is one of the things that they say is that you have to have your GFR taken regularly and monitored, because that medication is so hard on the kidneys and the heart. And so for her to be, I mean, my personal thoughts are she did do a visa run to another country, and that's when she also got the medical care, and that she's never going to follow up with all these, obesity specialists and dietitians and all these things that she said she was going to do. She had no intention of doing it.
It's been 2-3 weeks, and she still hasn't seen the dietitian. She's not going to see the dietitian. So,
right. And she should probably be getting another GFR at this point to see how her kidneys are managing with those new diabetes medications. Would you not, or how soon do they do it after they start them?
With her, I mean, it's different, with her having so much going on, with the metformin and the blood pressure and the Lantus and the Farxiga and all that. I mean, I would probably get it tested a couple of weeks to a month out,
right.
Just because she's so bad.
Right.
It's like I said, I think that Farxiga was for her kidneys. And I think, I'm not saying she didn't have a kidney infection, but I think a lot of this, her kidney stuff was kidney failure,
right.
or kidney disease.
Okay. So did somebody says here, she said she can't get more insulin. Is that potentially true?
I have not heard that. I had heard that her say that the Kuwaiti government was keeping the metformin for Kuwaiti citizens. And so that they would probably have to find her another medication. But, I feel, my personal opinion is that she's jumping doctors because of the visa status.
Right.
So, she'll just go to another one who has, she'll not say anything about what she's been through. They'll put her on, something else. But I had not heard that about the insulin. I'm not saying it's not true. I just had not heard that.
Right. A lot of these medications, they're going to be, having to be very cautious, because they all, like I said, they're hard on the heart, not just the kidneys. And so if she's not being fully honest about her medical history, which she doesn't have anybody that's, seeing anything. They're not being able to access any charts or anything, or, any electronic medical record systems from Canada. So they can't really see what her previous history of her health was. She's definitely being on borrowed time. All right, let me take myself off, and I'm going to put that video back on. We'll continue with the exciting dialysis here.
Artificial tube connecting an artery to a vein, and it is surgically placed, usually in the upper arm or forearm. The last type of vascular access is AV fistula. AV fistula is a simple connection between an artery and a vein. It uses no artificial tubes, and it is surgically done. AV fistula are our preferred access because it allows, when mature, the highest blood flows for the most efficient dialysis and the least number of complications. Vascular access is a necessary part of hemodialysis.
Let's talk about how they talk. I don't mean to laugh, but he's like, least amount of complications. I've seen some really, not so happy looking fistulas. And one of the things that we're taught to do is to listen to the breweries and the thrills to make sure that these fistulas are functioning well. And I understand if they aren't potentially well cared for, that you can get some infections in there. Do you want to talk a little bit more about that?
Well, like I was talking about, the doctor that did probably 95% of the fistulas in my area I was working, he was such a skilled surgeon and so good that there were really, I didn't see any problems with the fistulas that, in my clinic. Infections and stuff, or the rejecting or blowing or whatever, I didn't have any of that because this one surgeon placed most of them. But yeah, if you don't get it right, and then of course whatever dialysis unit you're in, the techs, you have your dialysis nurses. There are nurses there, but the nurses are not the ones hooking you up to the machines. They have techs. So, and the techs get very good training and all that. But, if they're, one thing about not adhering to, practices, you could. But I personally had not had any of them with an infection in their fistula.
Well, that's good to know, because I've seen some, people are, having to go to the other side of the arm to get the, the fistula in. And then you've got poor venous access on the other arm. So anything that we're going to want to do cardiac wise, that's not good for us.
Yeah. Absolutely.
I mean, so, and they're, like I said earlier, they're very protective over those limbs if they're being followed by nephrology. Because I would be getting, patients coming in and they'd be wanting us to get blood cultures, which require a huge amount of blood. And I'm like, but I can't use the limbs. Where am I supposed to get this blood from?
Yeah.
And they didn't want us going to the legs or feet. It's like, so it's like a no to draw blood from. But sometimes it's like, I've got nothing here. Where am I supposed to be drawing blood cultures from? And you're talking about having to get, 20 ml per bottle for these blood cultures, 2 different sites on a patient who's completely dehydrated. And that is one of the things too. And I don't know if they're going to touch on this on this video, but the skin of these patients gets so dry.
Well, with the hemodialysis, one of the labs, one of the big labs that I would threaten people with death is your phosphorus. And you have to take binders, phosphorus binders with your meals, and they're humongous horse pills. And because that phosphorus built up in your system, the skin gets very dry and itchy. And you want to talk about somebody looking ashy. You could tell when they're not taking their binders, because of course you had those that, they were going to go do what they wanted to do off of the machine. Wasn't much you could say to them, but they had that really ashy look to them. But that buildup of that phosphorus will cause that.
Right. And another thing that will cause that itching pruritus, and I don't know if this is, something that, would come about. You probably maybe know this better. But I know when you get an accumulation of bile salts in the body, and I don't know if that is something that's also part of the, what gets clean through the blood. But I know I would have to look a little bit further. It's not my area of specialty, but I do remember that with patients who have liver cancer, because of the liver not functioning properly, the bile salts would start to accumulate in the body, causing horrendous itching, just all, like itching that you could not control.
Yeah. Liz Pondu, how a patient can remember to take their binders. Look, the lengths I have gone to, one of my patients, he was a rapper in the area and young, and it was a birth issue, not the one I was talking about before, but he was a rapper and didn't want to be compliant with his binders. So I did some drip for him. I got a binder box and blinged it out. I spray painted it gold, put it on a gold chain. And, it was like, here, wear this so you can remember to take your binders. Right. But yeah, I mean, it's, set it out where you can see it. Usually if it's within sight, that's the biggest thing. I mean, like just my daily vitamin, I have it up in the cabinet. I don't see it. I don't think about it till like I'm fixing to go to sleep. I'm like, oh darn, I forgot it. So, out of sight, out of mind.
Yeah, I try to, because I take, obviously I have still continue on the antibiotics this week. Still have months to go. But I kind of have made it part of my routine in the morning. Just as you have a cup of coffee or anything else, I've just made sure it's been part of a routine.
I mean, if you're like, I don't know. I mean, if he's going to work and you're packing his lunch or whatever, tape them to the top of his, because I do my husband, I pack his lunch every day, but tape them to the top of the Tupperware. If breakfast, you set them on his plate, to take with his meals. So that might work. I don't know what his schedule is.
Right. And one of the problems too is that if you are scratching your skin, itching your skin, you're going to have more potential of, probably skin that's already a little bit compromised because you're getting dialysis, and you might have some other comorbidities going on. Your ability to get a skin infection starts to increase. Is that not correct?
Well, yeah, I mean, since the majority of my patients, speaking from my experience, were diabetic. So, you already have compromised skin issues. And if it's itching and you're scratching, sets up an infection and, sayonara. So, yeah, I mean, it's that simple. I said most of mine patients were type 2 diabetic.
Right.
So, yeah.
Yeah, and you're already going to have compromised skin through type 2 diabetes. I mean, so now there's other drugs that I do remember, medications that were part of the dialysis profile. Is it Protease? Am I thinking that correctly? I know there's some other, or Pro something.
Well, they do. Well, they'll give the red blood cell stimulating medications. Was it Eprex? There's another one, I can't think of it. And those are given like during the hemodialysis. Of course, your phosphate binders. There's calcitriol. That's for your vitamin D.
Right.
And then there are specialized vitamins. You can't go get a vitamin off the shelf if you're on dialysis. You have to buy them. Usually you can buy them from DaVita or Fresenius. They're specialized. You can't just, because of your B and C vitamins. There's and Sensipar is the parathyroid, because of your increased parathyroid hormones. So I mean, it's not just easy peasy.
Right. There's a lot involved when you become a patient who has to do regular dialysis. There's medications that get involved with it. There's obviously the time that you have to spend in the chair. You're going to either have the Monday, Wednesday, Friday schedule, or you're going to have the Tuesday, Wednesday, or Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday schedule. I think Sunday is the only day, unless it's an emergency, that they're not open. So
and iron too. That's something else, because a lot of the dialysis patients have low iron. So it's low, and have high blood pressure. You can have low blood pressure. It's it's not just easy peasy.
Right. And then maybe I think the blood pressure decreases probably potentially just after the dialysis, because they've removed the fluids off. And then the closer you get to needing dialysis in your treatment is when the blood pressure starts to increase up again. Am I correct in thinking? And then after a while, it's just high.
Yeah. When they're starting to get on the machines, that's where your high blood pressure is going to be, because of the fluid, excess fluid. Correct. If you're going to have it, most of the time. And then the low pressure is after or during the dialysis, when that fluid's being pulled off.
Yes. We don't know if Foodie's listening or not, Catherine. And Fatima, come on in and join us. All right. So I'm going to take myself off and we'll see what this goes on to. I can see that I need to remove. So once I start the video, you just start talking, Cheekbones.
Okay.
We access the blood, filter the blood, and return the blood cleaned.
I was really scared about getting stuck with the needles, and so I always had to use lidocaine. And I'm glad I've stopped because it doesn't hurt anyway.
After a period of time, you start getting it done there. It's like a mind block. You block it out. You get used to it.
While they're treating me, I'm looking at them while they're sticking me. It doesn't bother me. It feels, just get it on, let me do what I got to do, and let me get out of here.
Yeah, most of my patients, they did not use the lidocaine. Most of mine were seasoned vets, so they didn't ever complain about the pain in sticking. But and I will say they do make, when you in the dialysis units, each chair has their own television with that they can watch what they want, but a lot of them get really cold. So they'll bring blankets and sometimes snacks. Protein is a big component on hemodialysis, and they will give Nepro, while you're in the chair, offer you protein shots because most people on hemodialysis will have lower albumin. I can't imagine what they're doing now with the cost of groceries. I really can't. I mean, this was, several years back when I worked in dialysis.
One of the things I think that it probably still looks the same, maybe the machines have gotten a little bit smaller, but is dialysis, especially in the hospitals. There's still these hulking big, great machines. And I think that what the point is that they actually have to, your blood is getting cycled through these machines. Is that correct?
Yes, there's filters in the machine, and they have a dialysate in them. And that's when the blood runs through them. That's what pulls them, the bad stuff out.
Right.
But
so they're basically removing your blood from the body, bringing the dialysate into it, and then when the blood has been cleaned, it's being returned back into your body.
Correct.
Right. And I think that's the important part. It's not like they're doing something to the kidneys. They're literally removing your blood, having to clean it with a special solution, and returning that clean blood back into your body.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Because your kidneys can't do it anymore.
Yeah, and you can't I'm going to run out to the Zippy Mart and get me some Ensure. You can't drink Ensure. You can't drink a lot of those protein drinks, because of maybe the phosphorus or the potassium, or you have a specialized Nepro is the one that Abbott makes, and it is expensive.
That's one of the things that concerns me about people being, dying on the hill of the keto diet.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And the increase in, potentially a lot of protein and how much work that does to the kidneys.
Yeah.
So, sorry.
Oh, I was just going to say to May that, they have to, dialysis is 3 days a week, 4 hours. Sometimes they can come off a little earlier, but, and if you're, you're good with your diet and your medications and your fluid intake, you can come off the machine earlier. A lot of them do than 4 hours. And you would think they got the golden ticket when they get off that machine early. But
you cannot go without dialysis once you're on dialysis. It's not like you can take a 2-day vacation.
Well,
is it 2 days, I want to say?
The Monday, Wednesday, Friday people, they have Saturday, Sunday off, and then they come back Monday. And then your Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, so there'll be 2 days usually that they don't go. And how long, it's a lot of factors, but not very many days you can go without it.
Right. Because sometimes, as we said earlier, now, do you want to talk a little bit about the fact that, it's about the fact that they may not urinate properly?
Yeah. I mean, some will have some urination, some more than others. And it all depends on what their kidney function, is, but it's not like mine or yours.
Right.
It's very little.
Right. And I think towards where they start to get, like I remember that a lot of my end stage renal patients would have, like I said, they would be without urine.
Mm-hmm.
And I would be surprised when they did urinate.
Yeah. Yeah, it just depends on, because even if you're on dialysis, I've had some that were just like teetering on that edge that they could have come off of hemodialysis, but the nephrologist was like, "Well, no, I don't." And it's heartbreaking, but they weren't able to do it. But they would say, "But I'm urinating," but that's your kidneys aren't filtering, so.
Oh, Jenna,
Yeah.
I'm sorry about the loss of your friend. I think that people, it's such a lifestyle adjustment. I just don't think that people realize that the impact that it can have on you and have on your life.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I'm so sorry for that. And then Dr. Falcon, his own wife, had to be kept on 5 hours and usually about once a month an extra treatment because she didn't pass urine. And I think that's, I don't think that people sort of realize all the complexities. We just kind of talk like, oh, she'll be on dialysis, or, oh, this, but without really understanding all of the real sort of implications that happen because somebody went on dialysis and all the other parts. Like if you're on dialysis, that means your kidneys aren't working. That means you're not urinating out and excreting things. So if you're continuing to eat a diet like Foodie Beauty does, then potentially you're really gonna be in a bad way.
Well, I've told this story before when I was doing my internship at the hospital, that a woman was waiting to go on the machines and ate a whole bag of vinegar and salt potato chips. Oh, well, I go on because there's 2 shifts, morning shift and afternoon shift. And something happened and she was delayed and went into cardiac arrest and died at the dialysis unit.
God.
But that was, anybody can learn to play any system. And, it was always like, well, I'll eat all this bad stuff and then I'll go in there and sit on the machine and it'll be all good. But she was not able to get on the machine. She may have eaten them that night. I really am trying to remember. But anyway, there was a bag of salt and vinegar potato chips involved and went into cardiac arrest.
Gosh, that's terrible. That's really bad. And I don't even want to talk about, they were some of the hardest patients, unfortunately. Very, very, it was, and I don't really want to, go into the details because it is distressing. Just how sad it was to watch these end stage kidney disease patients when I worked in hospice. It was because they could potentially survive sometime, and it definitely had to be medicated for pain. It was very stressful for the patient, I think, and very stressful for the families. It's much worse than I think people imagine.
Absolutely.
And people do not die quickly. I just want to say that as a hospice RN, unfortunately. Yeah. And for anybody who's lost anybody there, and I don't want to trigger people, but I think that we see it in the films that people just die automatically. And that's not really the case when you truly see people passing. Most of the time, for certain disease processes, it can be actually a very long process, and it can be stressful for the families, and it's people can get terminal agitation. They can start to become different people. They can get very aggressive towards their families. Not saying with end stage, but with other types of different. It's a lot of a longer process. The dying process than is depicted that you'll ever see in movies or films. They don't even know. They don't know because they've never worked in the field to know really. And I think a lot of patients are surprised, or not the patient, sorry, the family because it's not a quick process.
Yeah.
And it's definitely not once you've been medically intervening on people for different illnesses. It really is not. It's nothing like they show on the movies.
No, and say you have to go on dialysis and you think, oh, look, I'll do everything I'm supposed to do and I'll just get a new kidney and I'm good. I'm golden. Even, I've got a family member. They're going to give me a kidney. It's great. But, I've had patients who got a kidney transplant and they will admit, I got that new kidney and I was like, woo, I am going to go live high on a hog. And then lost the kidney. It was some number of years, but the problem was the anti-rejection medications.
Right.
His fingers were basically and toes were falling off because of the anti-rejection medication. So, it's not just, oh, well, I'll get a new kidney and I'll be fine.
Right.
It's not that. So it's just don't go down that road.
Right. I mean, that's why, I think however we decide to, try to, it's so hard because it seems that the way we talk about health in this country, it seems to alienate people from actually wanting to care for their health. And we're starting to see much younger patients coming to us with chronic diseases that are sadly attributed to lifestyle, with dialysis being, unfortunately, for the majority of patients, is because of unmanaged, uncontrolled hypertension, high blood pressure, and that has put the too much of the blood flow away from the kidneys because it's, dealing with the blood pressure issues. Yeah. And I think that people assume that, every organ kind of does its thing without understanding that there's a hemostasis and everything works together. So whatever's happening to the heart is going to affect other organs in your body. And diabetes, I always want to remind people, is a disease of the vasculature. It's not just people say, oh, high blood sugar. Well, yeah, but the blood sugar is in your veins. And so it's a venous disease. And obviously your kidneys rely on being perfused by blood. And then they're trying to also manage. So your blood is got shards of blood sugar rolling around in it. And then you've got very large molecules trying to pass through the kidneys.
Well, to me, a lot of this is my personal opinion, and I'm not trying to slam on doctors here in the U.S. I don't know if we've got any people from other countries here, but I feel like a lot of the physicians here just say, oh, you've got high blood pressure. Here, take this medicine. They don't talk to them about diet changes. Don't stop smoking. Get out, do some exercise. With the diabetes. Oh, well, here's your, your oral med or your injectable. And, oh, well, here, go see the doctor. They don't stress, I think, enough of, you need to get it under control. And then you can stop these, possibly.
And I don't know I don't know if that's, though, because of the years that people talk. I don't know if we're going to get this Foodie video up, I'm afraid, because I was scared my very bad internet service, which I'm so sad because I was hoping it was going to be better than the last one. I gotta figure this out, man, with StreamYard.
Well, I mean, I can sum it up. She stuffs her gob with a bunch of shrimp and it's larger than a hubcap. I'm not sure what we would call it. I would call it a car hood full of rice.
Let me see if I can share the screen at least so we can talk about it. I just have a feeling, I'm very disappointed. I'm gonna have to talk to Verizon about what to do. We'll see, but I mean, here we've got. Let me see. We'll get her along. Let's see what happens. Let's see how it goes. Let's speed her up to one. Let me take off this. Let's see what happens. Maybe that DeVita video was just really old. Let's see. Let's see what happens.
But you're not doing it. Aw. Okay, so I have for dinner grilled shrimp grilled shrimp. The shrimp had like their whole body on.
Mm.
What in the heck? They even have the eyes on. Gross.
Oh.
Tahini.
Oh, goodness. So she looks like she's got slices of cheese over here on this side. This looks like a plate of salt. This is the plate of salty death over here. I don't want to say that, but oh my goodness.
Pickles and cheese.
Sorry, back to my point with the doctors and how the medications are given. I almost feel that because as a society here in the United States, because the pharmaceutical companies have the ability to advertise on television, which they don't get to do in, say, for example, in the UK. I think that people have, and they always have people looking dancing and happy.
Yeah.
That people don't want to hear about the health interventions. Look how unwilling somebody like Chantel is. And so, like I said, with my one patient, the patients, they want to know what pills we're going to give them. And then they get upset that they're giving pills, but they don't want to make the lifestyle adjustment. So it's kind of like, well, how do we help you when every day you're going to eat fast food somewhere?
Well, those commercials, if you'll listen to them, and it's always, there's never any morbidly obese people. They're really not even obese. They're like larger people. Right. They're singing, dancing, all this, and they'll say, taken, as directed, and then like mumble, they'll go with diet and exercise changes, with diet and exercise changes, but doctors just, they'll give you a pill and then you don't change your lifestyle. You go back, it's higher. They give you more meds, So, Charlie's mom.
I was about to say, Charlie's mom, I'm so sorry. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm going to pray that everything's okay. I really am.
Absolutely.
I really am, because I'm just gonna pray. That's all I'm going to do at this point, Charlie's mom, because I certainly gonna hope that was just something. I'm hoping that you'll get good results, because I don't want to think further about that for you. Yeah, lots of love to you, Charlie's mom.
Absolutely.
So you were saying about the dancing of patients here, which it really is a misleading sense of advertisement. I mean, these people always live in beautiful homes on the coast of California too.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
They look well off. They look healthy. I mean, they look too healthy.
Yeah, I that's just been my experience. I've had some work for some really good doctors that really put it to the patients, but most of them don't. And like I said, they'll just keep increasing their meds, or they go from oral meds to insulin. And you'll have the few patients that are like, I've had patients like when the doctor's like, here, you need to go see the dietitian about your diet. I mean, they're calling me like frantic. They want to get in that day or the next day. They'll do anything to get in for the nutritional counseling. And then she just keeps blowing it off, because she doesn't want to hear, I believe she's already had diabetic diet counseling years ago.
Chantel?
Yes. Somebody had a clip up of it where she was talking, about it. So, I mean, she knows, and I think she thinks that taking those pills and doing the insulin, that like she's cured. I don't have it anymore. But even that small amount of the Lantus, I mean, I've said it from the jump that she needed to be on a sliding scale also.
Right.
But, I don't think she can get that over there.
Right.
I really don't. But so she'll just keep eating, and she doesn't care. I mean, it's so frustrating.
Oh, and it's a horrific message to give to anybody, especially young people in her audience. And I'm just looking at this pile of rice. I cannot believe she has a platter in front of her and these. I'll just hide your comment, Miss May. This, I think, was just chunks of cheese over here.
Yeah, And the
And then the
tahini.
tahini sauce. I mean,
Mhm.
this. Okay.
Yeah.
Ah,
Let's just, I don't know, but you know, I think everybody agrees. I mean, and that's what I think I've said it before. I tell patients, I can give you the tools, but I can't build your house. You know,
right.
that's something that you've got to do for your self. I'm just concerned, and why I'm so glad you do these is because the way she brushes it all off and eating the ice cream and the donuts and all that, that people that don't know think, oh, this is okay. I can do this.
Right.
You know, I have these terrible comorbidities and I can do this. And that's just really disgusting to me.
Oh, when I saw her wanting to get that Simpsons donut, I was like, she's just wanting to do self-harm and injury to herself and injury to her kidneys. I mean, she almost would be lucky to get to dialysis, in my estimation, sometimes.
Yeah, I don't know
strain
what
she's putting on her heart muscle at this time.
I don't know what the situation is with dialysis in Kuwait.
Oh,
But I know here in the States, I had a little lady that had started dialysis, and they had gotten her Medicare, something would glitch in it. And so she received a bill. I think it was for 3 months of dialysis. And I want to say it was around $625,000. It was just, and she, of course, she's an elderly woman. She is freaking out. And it just was that they had done something, had come a hitch up with her Medicare.
right.
But it was just, I got to see what they were billing per, you know, session.
600.
And
How much a session?
I'm wanting to think it was, I want to say, I'm trying to think if it was for 3 months or 2 months, but her bill they had sent her was for $625,000. And it was not like for a year or 2 years.
$25,000.
Yeah, I think it was around 25,000 a session. I mean, it was redunculous. Now, you know, there's always, they have social workers in these dialysis units that,
right,
you know, that gives you the resources and all that, you know, type of thing for your medications. And,
right.
And as the dietitian, you know, if somebody's insurance wouldn't pay for this, then I had to write an appeal letter for them. And, you know, it was just keeping up and getting free samples and that kind of stuff for my patients. It was almost a full-time job just doing that.
Right.
Not the nutritional thing, not the lab things, all that kind of stuff. It just getting them the medications that nutrition related medications that they needed was a full-time job.
Well, I truly believe that Chantel believes that she can do whatever harm she wants physically to herself through her food in Kuwait, and then if she needs and everything gets towards the end, she'll just pop herself on over back to Canada and get free care through the ER.
Yeah, that
I'm just shocked always with what I see her eating. And then lately she seems to really double down on not caring about her health and wanting to eat horrendously.
Yeah. I worked for Fresenius, and you're absolutely right. At least one amputation or bilateral amputations of the lower extremities. Yeah, very, very common.
Right. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Because, you know, I'm thinking that's either because they're diabetic and they've lost the limbs through the diabetes, or that they are getting decreased blood flow to the lower extremities and because of the heart not working properly and therefore getting issues.
My patients, it was the diabetes.
The diabetes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's what got them.
Right. And I know that people laugh about Sugarfoot and all this stuff, but I mean, it's a lot. It's pretty awful.
Well, you know, it's hard to have compassion for somebody who's just not going to change, and and people have tried to tell her. I offered help to her.
Right.
I know other people have reached out and, just brush it off and don't want it. And, quite honestly, I think she's had dietitians fire her. I probably would have fired her too.
Absolutely.
But she's not going to do it.
There's nothing that says that you have to put up with a non-compliant patient. You can only go but so far as a provider.
I truly believe she just thinks, oh, when I get to a certain stage, I'll just jump on a flight and fly back to Canada and get all this free health care I don't pay my taxes for. And I'll be rosy. And I don't know a lot about the system. I think it probably depends on where you live in Canada. My Canadians would probably can educate me on this. But, I heard of long waiting list and, not having access, to primary care and that type of thing. But I don't think she'll survive the flight.
Right. I'm concerned that if she continues to fly, she will get a DVT at some point. Because she takes long haul flights and she has a lot of risk factors for DVT. All right, let's keep playing through this. If I got to sped up, I do. Let's see what she says of anything interesting.
And I made a little pickle plate here of cheese, jalapeno, Monterey Jack, and pickles. Bismillah. And they give you a little salad of vegetables.
That's what she calls a vegetable?
Bread. Yeah, and fresh bread is the best.
Hey, Catsy.
So let's put some cheese on that, baby.
Yes, it is, Kat.
And eat.
What is that swimming in?
I'm sure there's some oil in that.
Serve this, and I'll be back.
I mean, isn't that swimming in oil here?
Yep,
and she's actually got 3 pieces of that cheese. I mean, that just looks like a whole thing of cheese here.
And I think she has pita under the dashboard there.
Oh gosh. So we've got hidden bread, which is another sodium. And she's concerned about seeing eyes on the shrimp.
Yeah.
I mean, and the shrimp too. That is a very high cholesterol food.
That's
one of the things you have to be careful with shrimp, correct?
The sodium?
The cholesterol that shrimp actually has. Like, I understand it's got a high cholesterol profile. Tell me if I'm wrong. That's what I always heard, that shrimp may be a little bit more of a artery clogger than some other seafoods, because it potentially has higher. I mean, obviously it's got the iodine, but I thought it might actually potentially be higher in cholesterol, overall cholesterol as a food.
I don't think it does. I'd have to check my resources, but usually your animal products are the ones that have the higher cholesterol.
Right, our land animals, but that's what I thought. And but for some reason I thought shrimp was like the outlier from it, which is why you shouldn't eat too much shrimp, even though it's very tasty.
I would really just have to. It's not dinging on my dietitian radar as being bad, but it's kind of like with eggs. People are like, oh man, I don't eat eggs. And they've kind of debunked all that.
Right. You could see something of that. Yes. That's why we have you here, but still, that shrimp was potentially fried in oil. It says grilled.
Sure, it was butter. I'm sure it was sauteed in like butter.
Something to grill it. They're gonna put oils or something to grill that shrimp, because I can see it. And I mean, there's a huge shrimp. But that's even larger. I mean, that platter, how deep does that go with how many cups of rice am I seeing here?
Yes, that's at least 4 cups of rice.
And what should a diabetic, if they are allowed? I'm so horrified. I'm losing my voice. What is the recommended amount of rice that she has?
Well, and we've talked about it before. It's all like when I do my counseling, I try to set up what their eating pattern is, and then what their daily needs are, their eating pattern, and distribute their carbohydrates per that. So,
Okay.
but a fourth, I believe it's a fourth of a cup is one
Thank you, buddy.
carbohydrate. Yeah.
Gosh, it's like a quarter of a cup. Oh my gosh. I'm just, oh, you just ate a salmon canapé. That sounds very nice, Catherine.
That
I'm
does.
just at a quarter of a cup of rice. Yeah, a quarter of a cup. So she's like, I can't even.
I mean, it's, and everybody's, different, but, a fourth of a cup is one carbohydrate. If you're allowed, I don't know, say 4 carbohydrates per meal, you could have a half a cup of rice and, that kind of thing. So, it just is, it's real intricate, as to how you do it. But, to tell people, oh, you have to eat, 3 meals a day. No, it's some people, their work schedule don't allow that. You have to try to work with somebody's lifestyle. They'll be far more compliant with it.
Right.
And, but it's the stress is you need to eat about the same time every day when we get your plan made out, because that keeps your glucose far more level than, oh, I didn't eat all day and then I'm going to, eat a car hood full of rice, having it, level through the day at the same times.
Right. And this is why it's so important for Chantel to have seen a registered dietitian, somebody specializing in diabetes education, because obviously, some people are like, it's half a cup a day. So it's like you said, it's going to be based on how many carbs are you being recommended to have at your mealtime, correct?
Correct. And you, Rebecca, you might be right. I might be thinking of beans. Look, I'm not in the arena, so, my, just off the top of my head sometimes goes out in one ear. But the point being is that, it's the set number of carbohydrates per meals and snacks and being consistent with it at the same times.
Right.
That's the key. It's not a cookie cutter. Life is not cookie cutter. And I had far better or had much rather come up with a plan that, I had a patient, he drove a truck. He just couldn't eat lunch. And I was like, okay, well then let's have you a Glucerna and, another kind of a snack in your truck with you. So, and eat it at, drink your Glucerna at this time. And that worked for him. His blood sugars dropped dramatically. Right. So, it's just, you have to talk to them because compliance is key.
Right. Right. And I think that that is something our good friend Chantel fights with.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. And then this tahini. And I can't imagine the amount of salt and just the rice preparation here. I don't know.
Sure,
but
I'm sure it has butter in it and, all that, kind of, stuff that, that's what when you get the takeout, they want it to taste good. So that's what they're going to do. Then there's no telling with the sodium.
Right. Right, they salt that stuff up too for the flavors. They're not concerned at the restaurant, which is why it is better to get meals at home often, because you know how much sodium and salt. If you obviously treat whatever. I understand people get busy, but it really is about you don't know what you're getting, especially from a restaurant. The fast food places terrible, but at least they have to post what the sodium and everything else is in those meals. And then, but still, used to be that the McDonald's fries, they just start shaking that salt on. How are they knowing how much sodium they're putting when they just got the fries lined up and salting it like that? You don't know. That's a lot. It's a lot. All right. Keep going, Chantel. Keep horrifying me to the point I'm losing my voice. I don't know how you can get through this, Cheekbones. I cannot. Oh my goodness. Because I see all these sauces. All right, Ray. And the pickles, the damn pickles.
I know. It's pickles.
Maybe like this. The head. It creeps me out. I wonder if she likes shrimp. But here. Here. Some of her food is shrimp. Okay, anyway.
Well, if she's getting heart failure, Gonzo Dick, I can let you know, yes, she would need to be on Lasix regularly.
Yeah, which is not good for her kidneys. So
again, not good for the kidneys, along with the Lantus, that's not good for the kidneys. This all starts to put more work on your organs. But keep going, Chantel. Let's keep going. Oh, she got the bottle of water here. More work on the kidneys. Probably needs a fluid restriction.
Probably.
Freaks me out. I don't know why. Maybe mature.
Fried chicken can't be that bad.
There's some mabuch, chili, and
probably wasn't eating his own product, Dr. Falcon.
He's probably pretty active too. So
right. Or maybe the difference is that maybe the chicken was prepared a little bit different. I'm sure he wasn't eating that every day. I know that, for example, Chick-fil-A brines their chicken. So it's already soaked in salt. That's why people love the Chick-fil-A.
I love it.
Oh, just because it looks nice and clean, doesn't mean that the salt content is not there.
Garlic.
Just because it's not burger doesn't mean it's not salted.
Tahini sauce. Where's my spoon?
Oh gosh.
So guys, what's going on?
I don't know why that went like that suddenly. Hold on. There we go.
Oh, and to drink? Diet.
That's not diet.
Now I understand. Are you familiar with why carbonated drinks are not necessarily the best choice? Whether they're diet or not.
Why diet drinks or carbonated drinks?
Carbonated, because it wouldn't matter then if it's diet or regular.
Carbonation does have some effect on the kidneys.
Right, because you have to introduce carbon into the mix.
Yeah, well, I mean that's not a diet drink anyway. If it's diet, she'd have it slammed up in our faces. But and I'll say this, and I'm one of those people now. I don't really eat a lot of fast food, and I'm not lying. I have not had a full sugar Coca-Cola since 1988.
Right.
I do not I'm not a sugar person. I don't like sugary drinks. That's not my thing. I don't like desserts. I mean, I'd rather have a yogurt or a piece of fruit or something like that. But
I'm not a fan of fizzy drinks. It's literally just putting sugar water on your teeth, and I'm particular about my dental health. And I'm already a very active person, kind of naturally, I guess, have high energy. I didn't need to add it with sugar water.
But now I'm a Diet Dew head, and I think they put crack rock in Diet Mountain Dew. I fully believe that, and I tried not to drink. I tried to have 1 to 2 a day. I've gone months and not drank them, and then there's sometimes I'll just drink them all day.
Oh my goodness!
But it just depends, and I'm sure it's the caffeine and the crack rock they put in it. But that I don't believe that's because I was watching Pulpy. I think Pulpy Syntax this last week, and he had zoomed in when she did that little go into the kitchen making coffee thing, and there was a big stack. I think it was of sodas. He zoomed in on.
I guess there's the laws.
There's the law. Whatever.
Anything that's bad is like in the chocolate balls, anything. I noticed she stopped showing what she buys for groceries at the moment. We haven't had a grocery haul in a while.
No, Bunny Melon, it's not that I'll drink a Diet Coke or a Diet Pepsi. It's just the full sugar stuff is what I don't drink.
And I don't drink any of them. I never liked the diet drinks. I'm scared of aspartame. I am.
I made it through the.
I don't like the taste of. Not scared. Scared of the flavor. I can taste it. It doesn't taste like real sugar. And the only one I liked was Dr. Pepper. And then I found out that they don't have regular sugar in them anymore. It's just aspartame now. So I won't even drink Dr. Pepper anymore. So my biggest vice is coffee. That is about the biggest vice I have. And I have to watch myself with that one because I, there are certain benefits to caffeine, but there are certainly other, a certain amount is beneficial, but to the amounts that sometimes I want to drink coffee is not beneficial.
I
love the flavor of coffee.
I used to drink coffee all day, every day for years. I mean, summer, winter, didn't matter. And I try to drink 1 cup because I put my collagen in it, but a day. But sometimes more, it's just like, I can't do the coffee today. Be careful with the potassium, though, people. Don't put yourself in cardiac arrest.
Yes. Potassium, if you have too much potassium, it actually can lead to atrial fibrillation. So you've got to watch out for having too much potassium because it can actually give cardiac arrhythmias.
Yes.
So just be cautious with that potassium, Miss Catherine. That's one of the reasons, so just be cautious. It's definitely can be, yeah. So just be careful. Just make sure that you're, because that's one of the reasons why they say it's not like an electrolyte drink. I know it's promoted. When I was a runner, I would drink a lot of coconut water to replace the potassiums and that I had lost. And why you'll see so many bananas and things after races is because of obviously sweating. While you're running, you're losing some of these electrolytes. But just always caution. Just because. How much? Well, I think the average you should get up to, I think, oh gosh, off the top, I want to say it's 4 point something was the max. Oh my gosh, I haven't taken a lab test in a while, but I think it's over 4, and I can't remember how much. I wish my pharmacist was here because they probably know this off the top of their head. Yeah. When I was looking at labs more frequently, I used to know that, but I do know that you do want to be cautious with having elevated potassium, because it can lead to cardiac arrhythmias.
Yeah. But Vibin Jivin was wanting to know how bad is a 203 on up there, 203 cholesterol. I believe 200 is right at the kind of the marker. And that is something I would just try to get that down with my diet. Right. The DASH diet, which is I think the American Heart Association diet. Right. And I keep trying to catch Eloise. I can't ever catch her. I don't know. Did you see the dialysis in the UK had come out about the statins? And they have done and I'm just repeating this. I ain't telling anybody what to do. It's between you and your doctor. But that they were saying if you took the statin every day for 20 years, that it would add no more than 2 days to your life. It was something like that. It was very interesting. I saw a YouTube thing because my husband's cholesterol was like 203. This was years ago. And they wanted to put him on a statin. And I was like, absolutely not. Right. And so I, had to, the problem is that my husband cheats on me with this her named Wendy's. So
not that biatch.
That here. He was dallying with her during lunchtime, unbeknownst to me. So, I've really had to ride herd on him, and now his has dropped, and he's good. But I just say before you start any medication,
and it also means like how your cholesterol is balanced too, because it can be a combination between your high and low density lipids. And I think that because sometimes my high density lipids can get a little higher, and my low density lipids stay low, which is what we want. Sometimes they say I'm too low on that, I'm like, what do you mean? And too high on my HDL. Like I've had that when I was younger, I guess.
I don't believe that there is such a
I
thing
wouldn't
as
go on the statins either. But I have cardiologists who will die on that statin hill.
Oh, I know they will, and like I said, that it was just very interesting. I had watched this doctor talk about it, but now that your HDLs, and I used to call this off the top of my head, it was like for so many level, or so I think for every 10 points over the normal range, it cut your risk of heart disease by like 20%.
Right.
So having a higher, because my HDLs are always higher.
Mine too.
Because it's
higher. Like my LDL's in the 30s, and but stress sometimes can change that. Even sometimes I've noticed.
Yeah. But your HDLs are not a lipoprotein. They're not like a fat. They're not a lipo. They're actually a protein, and they take the bad stuff out of the body. So the higher your HDLs are, the better for your heart health.
Right. But I've also read papers, because of science. But I wanted to add this one. So the hereditary hypercholesteremia is extremely high. We're talking like cholesterol levels up in the 400s, and it's a very rare hereditary condition. So most people who have elevated cholesterol, it's because what they're eating. It's very, very rare to have hypercholesteremia. That is a rare genetic disorder, and you'll be extremely high, and you'll know from an early age, and it does run in families, but it's not, it's not, people always want to go back to, oh, it's genetic, it's this, and that's, you've got to, yes, there is genetic propensities to obesity. There is genetic, propensity, we know, to alcoholism. But a lot, it's often in these cases with the hypercholesteremia, we're talking like super high cholesterol, like very high.
Yeah.
So not quite the same.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, if it's
had to cut back on the coffee, I know, me too. Nah. I have to be aware.
My advice is just, if it's not something that's earth shattering, when you're right there at that borderline, if it's something you can change with diet and exercise, do it.
Right.
Yeah.
That's a little low, Team Psych Ward. You might want to increase that HDL. You were put on a statin, Charlie's mom. Seeing how bad everything is for you, I might go back to smoking, drinking, and smoking and enjoy my last 3 years. Well, I always say to a patient, if you want to just enjoy your last, it's why I don't stop my really older patients from enjoying what they want to enjoy. Because, that's, you might as well. But if you're still young like Chantel and only 40 years old, this is just terrible. All right, let's keep going through this as much as we can, so we don't keep everybody here all night.
Gotta have my hot sauce. She did actually eat the shrimp. She liked it.
Oh, that's awesome. Sweet.
That's great.
Until I get the other one out.
Yes. I have to watch the vitamin B too. Oh, and vitamin D I think is the other one that people can overdo. That's why you have to have conversations with your doctors. Oh. I'm so sorry, Miss Lee Marie. I'm so sorry. Oh, you were good kidding? Oh, good, Dr. Falcon.
Amen.
Oh, yeah. We can't tell you where. We can't tell you exactly when. But like I said, more than likely,
why is she
cooled off?
You got just a bin under there that she's putting all this into?
Probably.
I don't know.
Who knows? With her, she may just be tossing it on the floor.
And I'm guessing is this got like vinegar and oil that this is sitting in?
It's probably, yeah, some kind of
Oh.
vinegar and oil. I think she said it was peppers, cucumbers, and tomatoes. And probably in some kind of like olive oil and vinegar kind of thing.
I mean, the oil, but the vinegar, maybe not so much.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well,
look how it's swimming in it. Swimming in it. It's not. Wow.
mm-hmm. It's probably better than a family size coleslaw she slopped down with that
Oh
broiled
gosh,
and boiled
that was
chicken.
horrific.
Yeah.
Her trying to say that fried chicken was healthy. I don't care if it's roasted, toasted. None of it was.
Absolutely ludicrous.
She had no idea that it just meant cooked in oil in a pressure cooker.
Yeah, absolutely. Colonel's been doing it since the 50s.
Right. She thought that she was, trying to pass it off as a healthy chicken alternative.
Ridiculous. I think she knew that. I just think she thought she was going to plead ignorance where she wouldn't get so much heat eating it. Oh no, this is healthy. This isn't, it's a broiled and what'd she say? Broiled and something. I can't remember. Roasted or something like that. But yeah, I think she very well knew it was fried chicken. She was just going to play dumb and then go, oh yeah, I guess you're right. Cause I don't know if I think she's blocked anybody that's trying to, tell her, that's not good. Right. Because it's, not her hug box.
Oh my gosh. I'm just looking at how swollen she looks, of course. And this is on filters. This is her being with filters and looking this swollen.
I know. I mean, the indents on the side of her eyes. I mean, that's just unbelievable.
And is this, I always forget the name, but there's that, the negrius, the diabetic skin here on the knuckles, because her knuckles are going black.
Yeah, I mean the with the diabetes, the discoloration, usually knuckles around the neck.
Right.
Yeah.
The Athacanus nigrius, is that what it's called? Something like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then it looks like she's getting it almost in her facial folds here. I don't know.
I just want to address, and I'm sorry, this Stacy Lee. This is exactly what we're doing, and that's what we said. It's speculation. We know enough about her medical history because we've been watching her 4 to 7 years. But when she's passing out this type of content that could be putting other people at harm, I appreciate Ray doing these videos and live streams to let people know. So that's why.
All right, I'm gonna have to reboot my system for some reason. This happens every time with StreamYard when I get too long up in my videos. So don't go away, everybody. Don't go away, Cheekbones. I'm gonna zip on in and zip back into this live stream. Okay, so just hold on, everybody. Just to give you a heads up. All right, I'm not gone, but just hang on. I'm getting the magic circle with my computer, so it does this every time. My goodness, I'm the queen of technical difficulties tonight. I'll be right back, guys. Don't go away.
Can y'all hear me? Am I still here?
Everybody, are you here, Cheekbones?
Yeah.
Okay, let's bring Chantel back where she's about to slam some cheese into some bread and let her play for a minute. I don't know why it does that every time I hit about 2 hours on this thing. Oh my goodness. Just the queen of technical difficulties, but I know when it happens, like it will start to freeze. So maybe you still heard Cheekbones and everything was going. I was just going, all right, make sure she's sped up here. 1 point. We're going to put her at 1.5 so we can get through this. I don't want to keep everybody all night. I got to make a reaction about being a hater. Okay.
So, okay, let me take care of this and I'll be back. Maybe like this. The head. It creeps me out. I wonder if she likes shrimp. But here. Some of her food is shrimp. Okay, anyway. You just keep the heads on until I'm ready to eat them. Freaks me out. I don't know why. Maybe immature, but whatever. Here's some mabuch.
I cannot.
Chili and garlic.
Oh my
Okay.
God. What the heck is that?
Those peppers.
Oh, where's my spoon? What's up, guys? What's going on? Oh, and the diet.
Maybe I missed this part earlier. No. I feel like the shrimp turned around. Did I have her further down?
Hot sauce.
No, she put some hot sauce on. Let's feed her along a little bit. I gotta speed her up.
Welcome, everyone.
See what she says of interest.
A lot of you might not know about our couples channel, Salah and Chantal. The link's in the description. But we did a lot of things on that channel.
Oh, God.
And for some reason, my shape, I did a lot of
Good
things. Which are all on that channel. So it's a similar idea wherever we go next.
I know we were talking about dialysis. So what are you feeling about this meal and her kidneys at this point? I don't want to laugh, but
it's just, she's got the pickles, the cheese. She got, at least 4 cups of rice. We don't know what's used, cooking methods so far as additional sodiums or, or fat or, so, I mean, the best thing I can say is probably the shrimp was better than the fried chicken. And the little cucumber salad was better than the coleslaw.
Right.
That's the best thing I can say.
So what if you were sitting down with a patient that was, say, before the dialysis patient, what food would you eliminate from this meal?
Well, definitely the pickles and cheese would, have to go. And then the appropriate amount when we had discussed and came to a set carbohydrate, showing her the actual sizes of the food, measurements. If you want to, the little cucumber pickle pepper thing, I don't have a problem with unless you're dumping oil in it. No tahini.
Right.
And maybe let's, start with, just a salad with, some type of a light dressing on it before your meal, just before you put anything, sit down and just eat a salad. It takes 20 minutes for your stomach to tell your brain I'm full.
Right.
So if you just sit down and eat that salad first, and then, that'll give you a little buffer there where you're, you may not feel so, hungry, but they're just the appropriate carbohydrates, but the preparation methods, hey, this is a better option to cook it this way than that way. And, you don't need all this stuff. But the thing with the sodium is, and, anybody in here that's had issues with their sodium, the more you eat, the more you need.
Right.
And you keep, and I maybe that's why she dumps all that sauce and stuff, on it. I don't really know. But, so it's rough when you cut back on your sodium, but when you get a little time, and then you try to eat foods that you thought were unsalted. It's like, oh my gosh, that
Oh.
is so salty.
Well, you be safe, Miss Pam, with that tornado
Yeah.
warning in Calgary.
Ooh.
Be safe out there.
Mm.
Definitely. Watch that weather, girl. We've been having some crazy weather this summer.
Yes. Go to the basement or the bathroom.
Yeah, be safe. Yeah, get ready to hide in the bathtub. Yeah, absolutely. So I'm still just flabbergasted by the size of the rice tray. You know, and I don't know. You're in the basement. Good. Stay there. Stay there. Yeah. Prayers for you, Miss Pam. We're sorry that you're going through that. I just can't get over the rice. And then I think the tahini, I mean, a little bit of tahini isn't so bad, but and all that bread, and she's already got the rice. I can't.
I don't know. I mean, it's, I have issues with, YouTube allowing some of this stuff. It's just sad, and I just don't like it. I mean, it's really getting at a point where, her content is so dull and boring. I think, was this the meal where she had the ice cream, like 2 or 3 ice creams after this?
I think
and then
later on that night she did, and then got the gelato.
Yeah. Oh, see you later, Catherine. Okay.
Oh, well, thank you for joining us, Catherine. It was a pleasure to have you here, all the way from New Zealand, girl.
But it just, and now it's the last several streams. I mean, she's just laying on the couch, and
right.
And, as you have to look at her community, all they talk about is food to her. And then, if, I'm sorry, every husband is different, but my husband would never, if I was in this type of health, be going and, ordering ice creams and donuts. And he'd say, no, of course, I know the dynamic is different with them. But if you truly love somebody, why are you contributing to their early demise? I don't understand that. And I don't subscribe to that. I'm 40 years old. I'll do what I want to, then I would be out. Konnichiwa. I'm not gonna, I can't do that. Right.
Especially when somebody is being so negligent to their health, and then potentially they could become a burden to you. I mean, I certainly wouldn't be on board to somebody who was, everybody, this is the thing that, we always have to understand. Everyone has free will. Everyone has the right to choose what they want to choose to do. But when you have other people that you're supposed to be caring about, then you do have to think about how am I impacting others? And this idea that, I'm an adult, I get to do what I want to do. Well, the one thing about being an adult is understanding what you can and cannot do in some way. Yeah. In the order to be good to yourself, a good steward to your own body. And I think Chantel is a terrible steward to her own body.
Well, if you want to do this stuff, fine, do this stuff, stuff your gob and all that. But do not bring your medical issues to the internet. Don't cry, poor pitiful me, and pray to Allah that you'll never do this again. And just don't put that. Keep it off.
Right,
and just eat your food.
It's funny to me that she talks about praying to Allah, because the gluttony that she displays is very frowned upon in the Muslim religion, really.
Well, in the Christian faith too. I mean, I don't know of a faith that, I think it's across the board, that, the gluttony is not good in Islam, and it's definitely not good in Christianity. Right. So, but she, obviously doesn't care.
Right. And I get upset that YouTube does allow the monetization of this content and the because obviously once the YouTube monetization goes, who's paying for your dialysis? When you talked about $625,000 bill, and I think it always surprises me in a country that we live in here that healthcare is so expensive and surgery is expensive and these things are expensive and it will impact your life. It will bankrupt you. And why people, are so sort of throwing caution to the wind when it comes to it. I'm always shocked and surprised because that was the one thing I knew from a very young age. And it wasn't necessarily what my parents, preached to me. But I always understood that if you don't stay healthy, who's taking care of you? Do you really want to spend your life? Maybe it's because I did see my mother having problems with her kidneys, believe it or not. I understand that her kidneys might have been affected because when she was a young child, she had received a lot of sulfur medications. And that could have potentially caused harm to her kidneys and gave her kidneys decreased function. So she's always had to kind of manage kidney issues and having, and over time, and obviously she was a little bit better with her diet than Chantel. But it did really affect her. And I think maybe seeing parents who did have illnesses to manage, that it made me not want to go down any road that would get me there. Now, some things you're just going to have through the process of aging, and that stuff I've learned as I've gotten older and been somebody in the industry and somebody who obviously follows up with my physicians and so forth. But it just shocks me every time I see just the negligence shown by YouTube and then watching Chantel.
Yeah. Well, somebody in the chat a while ago, I apologize, I can't remember who it was, said, why doesn't she just mukbang healthy foods? Somebody has asked her that before, and she said, well, because she really didn't like it. She don't really like a bunch of fresh, vegetables, or, that's not what she wants. And I don't, a lot of my having no sympathy for is I don't have sympathy for anybody that cries mentals and had every opportunity to receive free therapy for her if it is binge eating disorder or anything else, and didn't do anything about it. Don't keep crying about it, and you did absolutely nothing about it. She has not been to a bunch of therapists. I think she went one time to the doctor, and he said, I think you might have binge eating. Made some suggestions, which she did not do, and that was the end of that.
Right. I think so. And I'm obviously somebody who's studying psychiatric mental health. That my thoughts are that she doesn't have what she might have moments of depression, but she's way too frequently on YouTube to be probably having manic depressive disorder. In my speculation, because you literally cannot function and it will go on for an extended period of time. And so she talks about being on some antidepressant medications, which need to also be heavily monitored a lot of times. It also takes a long time to get the dosages correct for these medications. They're not just to be prescribed out and left like that. There's a lot of implications behind antidepressant medications and different classes of antidepressants. And obviously her talking about having, therapy is something that I truly doubt to any extent. Seeing a therapist for a meet and greet in order to, potentially start to fill out questionnaires, and maybe she's, I think, somebody who doesn't really want to get to the depths of her issues. And I find that a lot of the things that we may need to address with patients due to physical health, the problems they're getting in their physical health, probably have a mental health component in there, in either that they're dealing with traumas or there's an unwillingness to change. But these are things that you really, should address with somebody who's going to be able to guide you through a therapeutic process to hopefully get you to a place where you're not ending up on dialysis. I mean, for as much time people take planning a vacation or, spending time on that, they put far more effort and interest in those activities than they do their own body.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, when she was the last time I think she was in Canada, I think somebody got her that one visit with, I think it was not a psychiatrist, something less than that. But, she said, oh, they gave me a lot of resources in Kuwait that I could use for, therapy and mental health and stuff. And then the other day she said, oh, I can't do it because I have to be in Canada. They can't help me. Canadian people, therapists can't. Well, that's not what you said. You said that they
bipolar,
had
I'm not sure, because she doesn't seem to. I mean, I would have to, do a physical assessment, and there are certain questionnaires, and there's certain types of type 1 and type 2 bipolar. One is to the depressive side, or one of them is to the depressive side, which I believe is type 2. One is more to the manic side, which is type 1. I don't think necessarily she's too stable and actually appearing on her YouTube channel. And so she's been very consistent with maintaining her channel and showing up fairly consistently almost every day. So that leads me to think that those would not be potential diagnoses. Whether she is more leaning into the dark triad of, I would say narcissistic personality traits. I definitely can potentially recognize some of those speculatively. I have to be speculative. I don't treat or diagnose, obviously, anybody. In reality, in order to get a really good start on these types of medications, you have to do a very, very big physical assessment of the patient. You need to know their medical history a little. You've got to have certain questionnaires that they have to answer in order to get a bigger picture. Now, I have wondered, and I would need to know, more about potentially some of her behaviors in childhood and everything with Chantel's story. It's possibilities of having borderline personality disorder in some ways. And that's with her attachment with men. And how she cannot be kind of alone. And so I wonder into some of the more difficult to treat psychopathies that could be potentially happening with Chantel. Yeah. Anyway, let's keep going.
We'll be vlogging. And I'll be challenging myself. I would like to get healthier, but
did you hear that? Can you hear her okay?
Yeah.
Did you hear that?
Yeah.
Cheekbones, that she wants to get healthier.
Well, talking about it, don't do it.
How many times have we heard her saying this?
I firmly believe
while she's in front of a pile of rice.
I think when she talks about it in her mind, it's like she's doing it or done it almost. Right. Well, I've got to go on this diabetic diet. Well, you can have a treat every now and then. And, oh, well, you have a donut one day and 3 or 4 ice creams. And that it's just, I can't make no sense out of it.
Right. It's just mind-boggling that she even brings the word health around, because I think I would be interested for her to really give me a conceptualization of what she thinks health is.
Just own it. Just say, you know what? I know I've got all this stuff going on, but I'm not going to change. This is the way I want to eat. This is how I'm going to eat. I'm not going to talk about my health conditions. I'm just going to,
Right.
stick to it.
I'm going to monitor my health conditions, but I promise you, nothing is going to change. In fact, I could get worse.
Yeah, I would have some can't blame her. I mean, that's what she said. She's not talking about her health, and she said this is how she's going to do it. and she's not talking about getting healthy and stuff. So, I've got to give that to her. But no, I mean, she uses whatever she can for views.
Right.
And exploiting, people and, I don't know. It just is crazy to me.
And that's why, it's so important that, and I think she just refuses, unfortunately, to address her mental health issues. And those are probably, I mean, the diabetes, the potential for her having stage 5 kidney disease and kidney failure. I mean, all of these, her heart, all of these are very probable. But unfortunately, her inability to want to change and her unwillingness to change is probably going to be the most difficult thing to treat.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter how many antidepressants you pop somebody on, because that might not, these types of potential psychopathies are very treatment resistant.
This is totally your sandbox, not mine. But, from looking on the, I mean, I think that there's some level, I don't know what you call it, of impulse disorder with her, because if it's something she wants, we all have that. I want a Lamborghini, but I'm not going to throw a fit or do this or do that till I get what I want, because most of us have been raised, well, it's just too tough. You're not going to get it. But that it's, to me, that's what it looks like in my little corner of
she's got
nutrition.
very poor impulse control.
And it's, not just with eating. I mean, I'm going back to Canada and, it's over. And, it's just, and she says, I'm very impulsive, but you're 40 years old.
Right.
You're not 8 or 5.
Right. I mean, that's the thing. It's like, anyway, we'll keep her going, but yeah, definitely. Because I mean, everybody, there's a certain amount of, yes, spontaneity is good, but when you become an adult and you have to be functioning in a society, sometimes just that spontaneity and lack of impulse control, and that could stem from stuff from childhood, and that's why it's, and her not, having, learned behaviors potentially that were enabled more. But that, again, that's just me speculating. All right, keep going, Chantel.
Like I said, no matter what, I'm going to try to go. This tahini sauce has like cumin.
Oh my gosh.
You can also dip the bread inside.
Oh my gosh.
Go for it, girl. Go for it.
Yes.
Hi, Juice. Mama. People are like, why do you call her Mama? No idea. But anyway. I have to share all my food with you, don't I? Because you're cute and I love you.
If you loved her, go get her spayed and brush her.
Thank you.
I'm getting excited. I just, great planning. There's a lot of planning.
I know. We need to get Dr. Carter on here to talk about narcissism. Oh.
Lord.
Oh. Just, who is this for? It's got to be for a certain audience, because I can just see her sort of, rationalizing in her head in the sort of, landscape of where this young lady lost her life from literally having her stomach split open from the amount of food that had remained undigested in her system because she ate so much food.
Yeah.
And her rationalizing she doesn't eat that much.
It's very in the morbidly and super morbidly obese. It's that what I call food amnesia. You can ask them what they ate, a diet recall, and it will be 1/4 of the amount that they ate. They don't eat very much. So yeah, but what I've noticed she does, if anybody has any experience with anorexia nervosa, how they'll move stuff on their plate to make it look like they've eaten something.
Right.
She moves stuff around to make it look like she hasn't. She'll spread that, if you watch her, she'll spread that rice out where it won't look like she's had as much as I'm fascinated with it. I've been watching this for some time with her car hoods of rice, that she'll move it around where it won't look like she's eaten that much. Right. It's like the opposite. It's really fascinating.
That is a very interesting point. It's almost like she needs the plate full in front of her at all times.
Mm-hmm. And because she was, she will literally still have food in her mouth and put another spoonful in it. But so she can say, I'm full, or it doesn't look like that she's eaten that much, but she really has. When you take rice that's a foot deep and you eat half of it, but you spread it back out, it don't really look like it's that much. But if you just the spoonfuls, counting the spoonfuls.
And I can let people know that since Chantel does not exercise, despite her talking about wanting to get a bikini and go back to the swimming pool, she does not exercise enough to keep her cardiac muscle, her heart muscle healthy. And because of that, she is going to have a greater chance of having heart failure, because the heart is a muscle and it does need to have activity in order for it to function correctly. And because she's going to start to get heart failure, what's going to go out? The kidneys.
Yeah. Well, she already has an enlarged heart. That's what she said. I'm just going by what she said, that she has an enlarged heart.
Well, that means she has heart failure on the way.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's why she's on diuretics.
Mm-hmm.
There's only one reason to be on diuretics primarily, and that's heart failure.
Yeah.
Because your heart is not a good enough pump to start moving that fluid out of your body. And because it's not pumping well, it's going to start taking down those kidneys. And she not even peeing as much as she used to. And she probably needs to be on a fluid restriction.
I believe she does need to be on a fluid restriction. And in her diuretic, is it potassium sparing? Is she getting that?
No,
monitored?
She's on furosemide. So she's not even on naldactone.
So, that's why, when you're jumping around, and, oh no, I haven't seen anybody. No, there's nobody tracking it, kind of thing. So.
No, she's not on a diuretic that will be more kidney sparing. Not at all. I don't know how much more her heart can really take with her elevated blood sugars.
No.
I really don't know how much more, and her lack of exercise. I just don't know how much it can take, how much more it can take.
Well, I'll plant my flag on the kidney hill. That's what I think that's going to be the first thing to get her. It's going to be those kidneys.
Well, I just don't want her to have a stroke on camera, because I wonder for that sometimes too. If she's got any type of elevated blood pressure. Oh, goodness me. We do not want that to happen to her. Okay, let me keep her going. Let's keep going. And we'll wrap this up soon. Oh my goodness. You and I, we try Cheekbones. We really do.
I know.
Do you think she's in worse shape than Hungry Fat Chick? No.
Like I said, I'm trying to.
No.
Absolutely not. I think poor Candy is in a worse place.
If I must.
That's my opinion. Do you watch ever Miss Candy at all?
I do watch. When she was doing her little diet and doing so well on it, I sporadically, watch her. I was so encouraged. I don't think she's better, but I think she gets better health care and more consistent health care than, Chantal does. And she seems like a very sweet person.
Yeah.
But, for somebody to choose that, it's just, to means to an end.
Right. And it's unfortunately because they do have bigger channels and, she is more like the sad case of Nikocado Avocado. It just amazes me that these people, jeopardize their health and Nikocado Avocado, is not somebody who's uneducated. He was a very good, a wonderful violinist. He had been somebody very healthy. And he learned that if you have content that causes, sort of a rage baiting in people, and they seem to be very popular with younger audiences.
Yeah.
Even Chantel has very young people, I suspect. A lot of young people potentially watching her content, more so than, I mean, I don't know how much is like hate watch and how much is actual, watching, because they find it, fun to watch somebody, consume this amount of food. Like it's a challenge type thing.
Yeah. A lot of times young people and I do remember what it was like to be young. You gravitate toward the rebels without a cause, like, oh yeah, they're not doing what everybody expects them to. And that's how I want to be. And, kind of thing. But, when you get older, you're not like that anymore. But I think a lot, they have to be, you can't tell me they are not trolling her with the constant food talk in there. Why are you not encouraging? Probably because they get blocked. Honestly, but why don't you, take a walk, walk for 5 minutes in place, or just something,
right.
To encourage her. Well, but we all know she's not going to do it. So I don't know why we're, wasting air on it. She ain't going to
walk
do it.
100 meters to the next bench.
Yeah. It's, I think I'm curious what you think. I think the mobility has gotten worse.
Oh, to the place where she is literally, having, just through her live streams, having to go and lie down, which to me makes me think and when I see her yawning, I think heart failure. It's like, you don't even have, because your heart, it has to be exercised. That's the biggest thing with cardiac rehab is getting patients to exercise. Even, as much as we try to address the diet, obviously, is trying to give them habits of exercise and keeping the heart muscle healthy. How can she be that swollen on furosemide and have heart failure? I'm sorry to hear that, Elle. Probably because she's not on a sufficient dose. And she's probably drinking a lot of food and consuming huge amounts of salt that are negating anything that furosemide could do for her. That's what my speculation is.
Yeah.
And that's not unusual for patients to be on a couple of different diuretics, to be on spirulactone and furosemide. And a couple of times a day. So it's, it's not, as we know, and I'm sorry to hear you have heart failure. I would, exercise is going to be your friend. And obviously if you have any fluid restrictions or, sodium restrictions, follow them. The doctors don't tell you these things to be mean.
Yeah.
Take the fun out of life, or all the other things that are suspected. It's really because the heart is so important. It's without it, you're not going to get very far.
Yeah.
And it's going to end up, and she's already on the CPAP.
And when was that sleep study done? And she doesn't clean it.
Oh, God.
And so that just is a whole nother and that whole other thing. But it's just and she's talking about, I mean, she's got to go on a visa run in 3 months. And if they decide to, not border hop or whatever, but if they go to Malaysia or somewhere, the last trip was a disaster. I mean, she sat in the room and ate 7-Eleven hot dogs and grilled cheese sandwiches and smoked the ganja. That's what she did.
She probably has, oh gosh, and that's not going to be good for the cardiac muscle either. I hate to say it. I just always, it's, and she just probably doesn't have the energy. She probably so for all her fantasizing about all the things that she's going to do, she doesn't have the energy to do it.
Well, she doesn't want to be uncomfortable. And, if all the moms in here, you feel me, there's days you don't want to get out of bed, but you've got a pack of kids and a husband and a home and a job, and you got to get up and get it done. Working out, oh gee, I don't feel like well, I got to get up and just do it. Just got to get, but she doesn't like that feeling and she just won't do it.
Right. I can promise you on day 4 of a set of 412s as an RN, I can promise you by day 4, sometimes I didn't feel like getting up and having to think about a 16-hour day.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's just, we're all,
you got up and did it.
Yeah. I mean, that's how we're raised, what you got to do. But, and then she just lucked into this YouTube thing where she could, I think somebody had put in the chat where she can sit and eat and earn a living, which was absolutely the most horrific thing that could have happened to her.
Absolutely. Oh my goodness. All right, Chantel, keep taking out your kidneys here, girl.
Hot sauce. My favorite. I love
the chat. If those of you who are members of Life and Vibe, drop us some poor kidneys, because we do have poor kidneys thanks to Cheekbones' son.
So
let's see how. Oh, you see, she does move that food. You see, spreading out the food.
I got some vitamins.
Oh yeah, that's gonna help the world.
Multivitamin gummies, tropical flavor. Because I need to take them.
That'll do it.
Just to clarify, those supplements are fighting a long hill battle and probably going to put more strain on her kidneys if she's not sure what she really needs. And secondly, I don't think Unicity, the MLM product, is the cure-all for diabetes. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, what happened to that? What happened to that, 3 gram of fiber in a $200 glass drink? What happened to, all that was keeping her sugars down? And, we all know it was an MLM, just anything to, make money. I'm really waiting for her to come on here with the Avon. I'm not kidding. It's who knows what's next. But that whole thing really angered me. And I think she should have gotten those videos struck off or her channel struck off for medical misinformation.
Oh, me too. Absolutely. I mean, the reason how I started to make commentary on Chantel was because she was touting that terrible MLM product.
Yeah.
I had seen her for quite a few years on YouTube, but I hadn't really had a reason, I felt. And then obviously once she really started to talk about the diabetes and obviously within my line of work, I was like, okay, now I do need to start speaking out because this is just outrageous at this point. And there's, lots of medical people, but not necessarily, making reactions the way I, try to do them because they don't want to be necessarily in the messy reaction world.
Yeah, exactly. It's
and the
just
problems that inherently come with that.
Yeah. You're exactly right. That's why I have no desire to have a YouTube channel, and no, I don't want to get in the fray. I'll just be
Right.
the little spectator on the side. And I get to live vicariously through your live streams. So thank you very
Well,
much.
I appreciate you doing that. Let's keep going with her and the poor kidneys. Goodness me. And we'll see how far we get so we don't get too late, because people always tell me my live streams are too long. I was like, they're live. It's supposed to be here live. It's not ready for the replay.
This one has everything. Like the 100% daily value.
Oh.
She's grilled.
Oh, good. Glad to hear that, LB.
That is
very
awesome.
good. That's awesome news. I'm
See, I
so
just thought I would have
proud
dinner
for you.
There's a clove. Big clove. As per usual. I love this salad.
Oh, the vitamins. Oh, the unicity is helping the hair. Didn't drink any unicity before this meal, I'm guessing. Didn't fill her up before she ate.
Yeah.
I see you, Junebug. Junebug just woke up from a long nap. She had a bath today. We got to get her ready to get her flea medications tomorrow. Oh, you love the live longer screens, just the mom live? Well, thank you. I have people that watch it on replay and like, you need to cut it down, and you need to not let, you just need to let her speak more because she said something important. It's like, this girl doesn't say anything important.
No.
What if
No. And
she's saying?
Well, yeah, there's a 1,000 reaction channels that do all that. Yours is, to me, is a health related, perspective. So you're not going to sit there and talk about, something that's not pertinent to what you're trying to get across to your audience.
That's a funny question. Somebody's, yes, I'm not, just saying, oh, look at how she's contradicting herself again today. I'd rather get into the idea of why is she contradicting? Like, what is the deeper issues behind the contradictions? But yeah, I don't know if she's in an office building. Maybe it's just that apartments in Kuwait.
I think somebody, when they had looked at this, now don't quote me, but it seems like somebody said that they used to be office buildings.
Okay.
And that they had, redone them. I may be totally wrong on that, but it seems like
apartments from an office building.
Yeah, that's why, like, the kitchen is so. Of course, I don't know. I mean, I've seen some homes in Kuwait, but girl, this ain't it. I mean, some of them are just absolutely unbelievable. But I just remember that somebody saying, I think the phone is for the. I don't know if they have what is the little
like
person
an intercom to the front door or something.
Yeah. I think is what that might be for. I don't know, but I'm just telling you, I've lived in some small places, but that kitchen, just makes me lose my breath. I don't have anxiety, but that makes my armpit sweat. That kitchen does.
It's almost as small as the one I had in my downstairs flat that I had to share with 3 other people while living in London.
Yeah, Emily, it might be typical housing. I'm not, familiar. I just somewhere in my brain was thinking somebody said they thought that it was like some kind of office building that had been converted into family units, but
right. I know calling it a villa doesn't make it fancy. No, it doesn't. And she acts like she's the only person who lives near a beach.
Yeah.
I promise you, I live not too far from the actual ocean front here in Virginia Beach. I mean, I'm in the resort district. I live in the resort district. I could walk from my house to the beach. So that's I'm not quite in the fancy. I mean, but I'm still in the resort end. So she's not the only person, who lives at a beach. Not the only person. Plus outside for tenant workers.
Yeah.
There's something. There's always a slight shady side. And obviously Chantel's never going to tell the truth. She wants to, sell a fantasy to everybody. about how she's living high on the hog. She's almost done with all that cheese. That is incredible to me.
Mm-hmm.
And she keeps grabbing little pieces of bread, I guess, from under the table because the rice isn't enough carb.
No. Well, she's, I'm sure, but isn't Everest coming up, or have we missed that deadline? I'm not sure.
Well, she's got to get that Everest training in, at least eating the mountain full of food.
Got a carb load.
Yes. Yeah, she's got a carb load. She's got to get, ready for that trip because her lungs will definitely survive a mountain excursion. Oh, gosh, Chantel.
But they're tasty. Oh, yes, they are sure tasty.
Oh. Pacific's a beautiful ocean.
Mm-hmm.
I know. I literally I could run to the beach. I used to run. It used to take me 7 minutes to run. It takes me 15 minutes to walk to the beach. I never go to the beach. So
I can see the Tennessee River from my front porch.
You live at a beach, you just get used to the beach. And I don't really want to be out there with all the touristy folks.
Yeah. Well, I can see the Tennessee River from my front porch.
Oh,
so,
wow.
I'm not far from the Tennessee River, but it's a beautiful view. But like you said, if you're not, why don't you walk over there and walk on the beach? I would.
Right. It's like, oh, it's an effort. I got to put sunscreen on and there's a bunch of stuff to do. It's like,
Well, it won't take her
always
long.
ask myself, but I'm like, I need to get up early in the morning before it gets too hot and I'll walk Junebug down there because Junebug doesn't like to get into the car. So, and anyway, I have every excuse. I used to go all the time, but now I'm so slammed between trying to manage this fledgling YouTube channel and school and work, which I'm back to work now. They wanted me to work tomorrow and I said no. And I realized that I signed up to work on my birthday next week. I'm like, are you serious? Could I have a worse birthday?
Just celebrate it on another day.
I doubt this. Hey, I'm turning 55. There isn't really going to be much of a celebration.
Yeah, they kind of lose.
There's not really anybody to celebrate it with me anymore. I swear, all of my friends, they either have back injuries, and so they don't feel like doing much of anything anymore, or they're working all the time, and they have kids.
Well, drive to Tennessee. We'll light it up.
Well, there's not much lighting anything up when you're on long-term antibiotics.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah,
I'm on the Tennessee side. I'm way on down in Tennessee.
I'm
very close to Mississippi and Alabama.
That I did actually want to try to visit Tennessee when I was living in South Carolina because I was so much closer, but instead of me, traveling and seeing other places, that when I did get time off between, traveling as a nurse, I would have to come back and manage my property here in Virginia Beach, which isn't a terrible thing, but obviously I wasn't renting it and I had to come home and, there'd be like a hurricane about to come. I was like, I need to get home, make sure everything's battened down. It's like, it's not like when these young kids go off and travel as a nurse and they just don't have to worry about properties because they're using their parents' home address. I'm a fully fledged adult with an adult life, so
yeah.
Okay, I know nobody wants to hear about this, but I would love to come and party in Tennessee, Sonia. I know I'd have a good time and I'd eat well at your house. I know you would.
You absolutely would.
You wouldn't give me a platter that would take out my kidneys.
Absolutely not.
What is the size of this spoon, by the way? Can we have a conversation about the spoon I just saw?
It looks like, I'm sure it's some type of serving utensil.
So that's what I'm thinking. It's the rice. It's the serving spoon to divide the rice to 7 family members.
Absolutely. Which, is, if it was a normal size utensil, when it's in her hand, it would look like one of them little jelly spoons. You know what I'm talking about? Because her hand is so massive. But but that's why she eats. Well, of course, you can shovel more in with the serving spoon. But yeah, that looks like some type of a serving utensil.
I just don't know when YouTube. I don't even know if that incident with that young lady that was so tragic had it occurred on a YouTube live stream. I wonder what they would suddenly do about the mukbang content.
Who knows? I mean, I think with any business, at the end of the day, how much money are they making from it? It's all cost analysis.
If I, as an advertiser, would not want my business associated with their content.
Well, it's all about the Benjamins. If they're making a bunch of money from these mukbangers, they're not going to do anything about it.
And that's what's, I think, is, as much as we want to try to report or have these people, they're much more likely to take down a small channel if somebody mass reports about sexual indecency or something that probably isn't even incurring. It just fascinates me because they wouldn't be very happy if you were just out here doing lines of cocaine.
Well, I mean, back in the Parkhead Olympics, I mean, she was always, she broke every terms of service and pushed the envelope continually. And they never did anything until the Omegle. And, just based on her statements after that, I think she should have been yeeted. But I'll say this, my whole thing is, I don't take her off YouTube, demonetize her.
Right.
That's, because that would, if she's not getting, that money, she can't eat like that. So just, let her have her YouTube, just don't pay her for it.
Right. Because I don't know how much, Cameo money she's going to be getting, even if they're sending her money to do this type of eating.
Yeah. Because she's always got to wait. People in the community, some like Breezy, some don't like Breezy. But I'm going to give her a little round of applause for that cameo. We're getting her to, proving that, yes, she was, because she always has denied that she was doing any kind of eating for feeders. So, it just exposed, yeah, you are just, another lie, rule number one.
Absolutely.
But, yeah.
That is the hill she will die on, is lying.
Yeah. Which of Wildwood do you think her parents were involved? Which of Wildwood's asked, do you think her parents?
Oh, and the young lady who passed away? I don't know. Supposedly, the young lady had a management team and supposedly had been having bleeds and had told her parents that she was okay. So I don't think her parents were on board.
Oh, okay. Y'all were talking about something else. Well, I think
if that's what she's referring to.
The story before, when I worked skilled in long-term care, we had a patient come in skilled, super morbidly obese, but they had done a scope of his stomach and the ulceration in his stomach, which, that's going to compromise the lining of your stomach, just from it being so stretched out, it was just ulcerated. So, that might be very well what happened to her, is that she had some type of ulceration just from the amount that she was eating. I don't know. I mean, I've heard about it. I hadn't looked into it, but.
No, they actually said she just had so much food in her stomach that her stomach had become deformed because of the amounts of food that she ate. It just burst open. The organ couldn't stretch any further.
That's unbelievable.
And it just ruptured her stomach because she had so much food in it. She was doing a 10-hour live stream, but she was doing this all the time, and her stomach wasn't digesting food. It was just remaining. She was just, it wasn't the stomach wasn't able to digest and move that through the intestines. So that it was just she was getting more and more into it. And she literally stretched that organ out to such an extent it burst.
So Chantal's eating Chinese now.
Oh, is she? Oh, okay. She always goes. She always does something while I'm live. I don't know what it is. Every time I go live, she puts out a video. Well, we won't be responding to that one today.
I don't have the stomach for it.
Let me bring her on to the end because we're going to round this up. We're getting to 3 hours. I'm just curious to see how full she gets into this rice because I don't think she actually says anything interesting here. All right. So I moved her along. Sorry, guys, who wanted to see it.
She
uploaded her Chinese lunch. Oh, no, but she always posts something for me to react to, I swear. It doesn't have to be live. She always puts a video out or something. Every time.
2 a day.
2 a day. Here we go. This is going to take care of everything. Oh, it's not even open. Can we talk about performative here? So it's a brand new container of something. So she thinks that she's going to eat all this, and look how much rice she consumed.
Mm-hmm.
And
she'll finish it.
Oh, yeah. That's not going to stay. That's not going to the trash can.
No.
And now she thinks that taking 2 vitamin supplements is going to right everything, I guess.
It's almost comical. Why? They don't do anything.
All they do is probably, if she hasn't looked, they're probably just adding more sugar.
Well, that's why she's got gummies. Yeah, so it's like candy. It's not like a pill,
Right. I mean, I get some gummy ones too. I have to say, I do like the gummies, but I get the ones that have no sugar.
Well, you're not 450 pounds with 500 comorbidity, so you can have your gummy vitamin, Ray. I think you'll be fine.
Thank you. And like I said, for my vitamin D, I get the ones with 0 sugar.
Yeah.
I just, I like, because they actually, if I'm going to take them, I do want to enjoy them, but there's lots that I get that are 0 sugar. I do take a B supplement because I am a vegan and they are something that's regulated by my doctor. But I did find one that was made in India and it was, and I just couldn't find my gummies, but they had it. It was low sugar and it's a sublingual. So it's just like goes under the tongue.
Yeah.
For faster absorption. And especially for people with swallowing disorders, which I do not have dysphagia, but but I do and it's really because as we get older, and maybe we'll talk about this and just finish it out. Sometimes we don't, we maybe don't produce the same, like I understand we don't synthesize maybe vitamins as well as we did when we are younger. Am I correct in that?
I mean, I don't have any statistical or, referee resources, but I mean, it would make common sense, to me. And, there's a real concurrent thing that I know of that with the elderly that I've worked at being vitamin D deficient, which, comes from diet and from sunlight. So there may be something with the, synthesis of like vitamin D in your system when you're, older. But, once your body ages, it just just doesn't work like it used to.
Right. And often with older people, why they tend to be supplemented more is maybe their appetite has decreased somewhat. So you're obviously wanting to, add things because maybe they're just not eating to get enough nutrition.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. And somebody like myself, who's a vegan, I tend to add a little bit more B vitamins. Actually, my B12's pretty good. So I do have to be cautious not to overdo it. But I understand that part of my dietary needs all that, and that's been something that's been recommended to me by my physician. And then obviously because I'm taking antibiotics for such an extended period of time, I am on a pre and postbiotic.
Good girl.
all-in-one gummy.
Yes, absolutely. Your vitamin D, make sure you're taking that with some type of a, fat in your meal.
Oh, that's good. Does that help with the absorption?
Yeah, all your ADEC vitamins, since they're
Oh.
fat soluble, you need to consume those with some type of a fat for better absorption. Now, they do make a water miscible ADEC.
Okay.
You don't need a prescription. You usually will have to order it at the pharmacy.
Right.
To get it, but that they are water soluble, fat soluble vitamins.
Okay, because I do wonder sometimes, and I've always been saying like not too many supplements because you're going to do too much to your kidneys. But mine is more because I'm trying to heal from this extendedly taking time wound that I've had. And obviously I'm on Bactrim, and so I'm already concerned about some of the issues that come along with it. I've been okay so far, but I did lose a lot of weight, as we know, at one point initially when I first started it. And
well, from the wound aspect, whenever I wrote orders for wound care, it was always with the zinc sulfate and the ascorbic acid.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I do eat a lot of I love to eat fruit. So I do eat a lot of apples. I eat an apple a day. I do eat citrus fruits, grapes, nectarines, papaya. I've had a lot of papaya lately. That's been my favorite thing to eat at the moment. So any closing thoughts? Because we've come up to 3 hours now. So I think I'm going to let you get on and enjoy your family for the rest of the night. And my dog is looking at me like she wants something. So I need to figure out. Junebug is having needs at the moment. I had to make a bicarbonate soda paste because she got bit, I think, by a mosquito on the side of her face, and she scratched at it. So,
oh goodness,
yes.
Well, I mean, since we were, kind of angling at the kidney aspect, just like I said earlier, is that the first few stages of kidney disease, there's little to none signs and symptoms. So, asking your provider, hey, I'd like a CMP, and see what pops up. And especially if you have high blood pressure, if you have diabetes, and just keep a check on that, because, once the damage gets to a certain point, there's no going back. So, just, keep vigilant, with that. And as always, do not be a Chantal.
Well, that is excellent advice, Cheekbones. And I really do appreciate you taking the time to talk to us a little bit about dialysis, and hopefully we've given a little bit more education about some of the risk factors for kidney disease, for some of the ins and outs of dialysis, of what some of the lifestyle expectations could be. And I just really appreciate you being here. If you've not had a chance to hit the likes, make sure that you hit the likes on the way out. I do appreciate you all watching. I certainly do appreciate your time. I know we'll get together again. I may not be able to get out as much as I used to, just because I'm halfway almost through my advanced pharmacology class. But I'm starting, work, like real work again, finally, on Friday. I'm back nursing again.
Woohoo!
I'm very excited that I've been able to, get to feeling well enough to be able to, want to be able to manage work and school. And still obviously doing the YouTube channel. I just may not be able, people are always like, oh, you just don't do enough reactions for Chantel. I'm like, I promise you, I get out and live stream probably about her fairly regularly. So
yeah.
I just don't need to be there reacting to every piece of dull content that she puts out.
Absolutely. Well, I appreciate Miss Pat Ray and Charlie's mom. I'm going to say a prayer for you, and and hopefully the good Lord will listen to me. But you just keep a positive outlook, and we'll say throw some up there.
Yes, and thank you guys so much for making this stream so great. I did want to let everybody in the chat know that some of the way that everybody is so kind and polite, and the level of interaction and interest and the conversations that you guys have, I do get really positive feedback from the replay gang, saying that they're just always amazed at how intelligent and just how kind everybody is in the chat. And that's really down to you guys. And so I cannot think but appreciate everybody. I finally got to 3,600 subs.
Woohoo! Awesome sauce. Yeah, you have an awesome chat.
I see some channels that just blow up, and I'm like, oh, mine just doesn't have that traction. But
well, I mean, slow and steady wins the race. But you have a wonderful people, members, chatters, subscribers. They're intelligent, and they ask awesome questions. And oh, hey, there you are, Team Psych Ward. My little boo thing. You have a good night. But yeah, you really do. I mean, they're very inquisitive and very witty, and so applaud. Hats off to y'all.
Yes, absolutely. And that's what these people who watch the replay don't understand, is that we really do interact with the chat. I'm not just here to react. I'm when I'm live streaming, I'm here to interact with the audience, not just to have my voice talking about Chantel.
Well, and I think and I know, as I'm a chatter in a lot of streams, it's nice to feel like you interact with the creator. And I think that's one thing you do really, really well. And because it makes you feel like you're part of the community. Right.
Yes. Oh my goodness, Fanny to Fed, you are okay. I'm sorry to say, we're about to wrap this stream up. But I'm glad to go out and have dinner. That sounds like fun.
Yeah.
Well, thank you again, Miss Cheekbones. I'm gonna just throw up the branding. I want to thank all of the people who are members of my community. Without you joining and participating and supporting my community, I could not be doing what I do now, and I appreciate it. Don't forget to subscribe if you're new to the channel, and we'll see you on the next one. Bye.